forms or like these entities that are like supernatural, super essential. They kind of exist as like repertoires of this cosmic consciousness, this collective consciousness.
Yeah, it's interesting to know that Michael Levin is also a Platonist because he believes in
Yeah.
this thing called
Yep.
morphospace. Yeah,
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah,
Right.
he's a
Yeah.
Platonist. Yeah, yeah. And when he publishes some stuff that will be interesting to read.
Yeah, and that
Uh,
relates to Teilhard de Chardin too. The new sphere, right? It's like this pleroma type of world, right, where like ideas come from, right? So, yeah,
yes, that's correct. And also, it relates to the hyperstition of Nick Land. Hyperstition of Nick Land in many ways. It does relate to his hyperstition.
right, right, right. He's kind of tying that to the idea, of the selfish gene from Darwin. So like memes propagating, and then yeah,
Yeah. What makes human beings interesting and what what's really up for debate, because I said I am agnostic about special intervention, is the symbolic reference that Terence Deacon, whose book I plan to read and make videos on. Symbolic reference is when a symbol means what it does by its place in a network of other symbols, rather than by looking like its object, which refers to iconic reference, or directly pointing to it, which refers to indexical reference. The emergence of symbolic reference is still highly debated, but there are good arguments that intentionality, self-awareness, and complex inference exist in bacterium, but they do not have symbolic reference. So basically, the swastika is not really a bad symbol. The swastika we saw in all ancient cultures. We saw it in practically the entire world, or Eurasia, or much of the world. The swastika, you know what I mean? And that was even probably in prehistory. There was the swastika, and no organism can make anything like a swastika yet. You see what I mean? So the swastika is can only be described in relationship to other symbols or other stories. It doesn't have to necessarily point to anything in this world, or it doesn't have to be resemble anything in this world. Indexical, or you know or indexical or iconical reference. Even though it may be bootstrapped on those. But the point is, symbolic reference is, from Terence Deacon's sense, is very unique. And we have to try. I'm trying to understand the origin of symbolic reference, whether or not other lineages can develop symbolic reference. It's a very interesting question, though. That's the one thing that's very difficult to answer. So let me see here. I think I had some other stuff to say.
yeah.
So
And that's the thing is like you could talk about the sort of simple to complex, process, right? Of the mimetic construction of versus the top down process of the universal mind to the collective memory, right?
yes, exactly, and that's what I talked about with Khrushchev. Khrushchev is more from the top down, while Skribina is
Right,
more from bottom up.
right.
That's what I talked about in that video. That's the way I interpreted those two and stuff. The panpsychists have the issue called combination problem. Well, idealists, maybe they have more of a decomposition problem. Decomposition problem. So it's a very interesting idea. I think Kashrab describes it in terms of a dissociation. Well, uh, Scribner and someone like William James describe it in terms of singularly coming together, or something like that. So yeah, I was looking at my notes here. You know, that's interesting. But I do feel like when people get deep in biology in a way that go beyond things, you start looking more at the sign activities. You start looking at more at biosemiotics, and more seriously considering stuff like panpsychism. Uh, Let me see here. So, so let me see if maybe I should keep reading this or not. But I had like a quotes I was reading. But what's interesting about machine learning or deep neural networks is they have some parallels with active inference, because you know, I wrote this here, because it basically in neural networks, when you train a neural network, it's called supervised learning, and it can, like you get labeled data and you train the neural network based on that. And you have like a training set, you have a validation set, and you have a test set. The training set you use to fine tune the neural weights. You're trying to map the features, which are X, to labels Y. In that. So you're training the neural network for several epochs, and the weights in the hidden layers are being fine tuned and updated. And then you take it, it's also comparing the predictions on the validation set. So you can see if there's overtraining or undertraining. Overtraining happens when the neural network is too fine tuned. It only does well on the training set. It doesn't generalize well on the test set, or the validation set, which is not being trained on, and let me see, the undertraining is when it doesn't learn well the hidden features or the latent hidden patterns in the data. That's when it's not learning well at all from the training. So you need to clean the data for the training set, make sure it's representative for what you're doing. And so you're training that neural network, and let's say it's good, let's say you don't have overtraining and undertraining. So then you take that model and you can use it to predict or classify or forecast, for the future. Like you take, let's say you're training the model to detect cats. To classify cats, different breeds of cats. And then you train that neural network on the training set, and then you take it and you can use it on test set or unseen samples of data. And then it can like classify the cats, and in a way, that does have some minor overlap with the active inference, because, active inference is about minimizing the bound on surprise. They call it variational free energy. That's what Carl Friston calls it. But it does so under a generative model that both updates beliefs and selects actions to make predictive sensations come true. So it's about minimizing surprise. And in a way, the machine learning algorithms are about mapping features X to labels Y, like I said, and like supervised learning. There are different modalities in machine learning and deep neural networks, so, you like balancing accuracy, simplicity, information gain, it's about, there's a lot of, most of machine learning is just linear algebra, linear transformations, you know, and, so, and also probabilities, so it's also, uh, Bayesian probabilities or also, let me think here. Yeah, it's mainly probabilities. Yeah, also near the end when it's doing classification or forecasting. So there is some weird overlap between neural networks and the way we make predictions in some ways, and our anticipatory nature. But I would say maybe that, you see what I mean. But the thing is, it's like a controlled creativity in some ways, but it's not as spontaneous as human life. The machine learning algorithm. You see, so let me see. I just gave a short talk about that. So that is kind of creepy. That's why actually I read this. They already have used organoid intelligence interfaced with the machine learning algorithms, and they use the machine learning algorithms to train the neural cells in the culture. Believe it or not, with the machine learning algorithms. I can try to find the source for that again. Actually.
Yeah, I think that's what the Elon Musk guy said. He said like, they're gonna have robots building like cars and airplanes and stuff. So basically, what a human being's gonna do, right? Well, they're gonna go on the internet and produce entertainment, and then everybody's gonna get a social credit score, and essentially
Yeah,
I
Brown's
think
boy
that is,
said
yeah.
linear thinking seems closer to technique than parallel thinking. Some say this is difference in brain hemispheres thinking process. Yeah, I would say that what is that called again? When you make connections, lateral thinking. Yeah, lateral thinking has a more creative, spontaneous aspect to it. You know, when you make connections, and lateral thinking, you know, and you make metaphors. You know, like when I
Right.
read Wind in the Willows, which is a classic literature. You know, the way they use metaphors to describe homes. You know, like you can describe. Let me think. The fire and passion. You know, what I mean, that's a very metaphorical way of thinking. It comes spontaneously and it has a more creative connection making, you know, that doesn't
Yeah.
seem like something a robot would do. You know, it's not really critical thinking, it's more like a fluid kind of association making that is tied to metaphors and other things. That does seem uniquely human, yeah. Linear thinking is closer to technique in the sense it only thinks about input and output. You see what I mean? That's the linear thinking, but we can think in more like mythic and mythical or more poetic kind of ways, which is more it could be tied to brain hemispheres in a way that I need to look into more. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between like analytical intelligence and organizational intelligence. You know, so it's kind of like the relationship between logic and rhetoric, right? Whereas, one is the focus on something, and the other is the ability to change focus between things, right?
Yeah, that's exactly true. But I want to tell you something interesting, and that's why I think they still promote natural selection. And it was from this part of the article I read. In some areas of economics, an agent or rational character is characterized as one exhibiting utility maximizing behavior. This description of behavior is compatible with different explanations of the behavior, such as adaptation by natural selection or conscious planning in the case of human beings. So, as you can see, natural selection is used in economics. You know, there are some economists who use it as a model to better understand economic dynamics. And maybe that's why they promote natural selection still, because it still has like some benefit in the technique of modern global economics. I was thinking about that. What do you think about that idea? I think it's just a conjecture on my part, but I think it may have some truth. 'Cause I found that kind of suspicious somewhat.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. You know, and I think I don't know if you've ever looked at like this complex adaptive system stuff, right? Where it's like, it relates to economic systems and stuff, right?
Yes, I've looked into it a little bit. Yes, and there is a kind of a complex adaptive system. Yeah, a very unsustainable one, of course, but yes, it's a complex adaptive system and one that erodes human autonomy also overall.
Yeah, I see Prigozhin in there, right?
You know, they talk about Prigozhin also, which was strange. This article was written in London City also, as we've been talking about. You know, so yeah, basically they don't ask questions about the nature of mind, like can mind find mind? Where is your mind? Of course they probably assume a kind of materialism where it's just the mind is the brain or something, which is ridiculous, like reductive physicalism. So let me see here. You know, this is the kind of stuff that led to anything. It led to Skinnerism. You know, behaviorism, where they
Right.
didn't. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff that led to it. Yeah, they don't talk about the problem of other minds is a big problem too. Like we've talked about before. Let me see here.
Yeah, I don't know if Neuro's still here, but
No, he left.
yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
he's a huge fan of X Files. And of course the skeptical, guy who's like the chief of the FBI. His name is B.F. Skinner in the show, right?
Oh
So
yeah, I remember. Yeah.
yeah, he doesn't believe in conspiracies.
Yeah, I do think there's a lot of truth to a lot of conspiracies, but it's kind of hard to tell where the lies end and the truth begins. It's very
Right.
difficult because they do hide a lot. Let me see. Yeah, this article, this part was very good, and in this sense, it shows you the issue I have with them. Let's see here. Oops. The most fundamental problem with psychologizing more basic biological systems, such as bacteria or plants, is that it is empirically unproductive. And that part of the article made me scream or get pissed when I was making a video on it. Not scream, but get more pissed. Because like, why does it matter for truth if something is empirically unproductive? You see what I mean? It shouldn't matter for truth if something is empirically unproductive. They only care about what they can tamper or manipulate for greater industrial interest or greater power. It's a very vain kind of the way of approaching things. The article repeated that multiple times. Oh, it's empirically unproductive. Oh, it's not something that can be tested, or manipulated. So I don't know, it's ridiculous though. But yeah, yeah. Also, there was one part where it said there's a cognitive bias, which I put here. There, One general finding has been that humans have a seemingly inbuilt cognitive bias referred to as hypersensitive agency detection, which leads them to see purpose and intention in nature where it does not exist. See, that's a very evil thing to say. Maybe that cognitive bias is sacred. I mean, when we see agency in the bird or the tree or the plant,
Right.
yeah, it's like they're trying to destroy all sense of the sacred in us. This article is demonic, and this is the kind of stuff Dave Farina and his stupid friends promote. You know what I mean? They're very big pseudo intellectuals. You see what I mean? They're like attacking the third
Right.
way with this article. They act like the third way has been destroyed by this article. No, it hasn't. It's actually been strengthened by this article because of how demonic and this article is now. Yeah, that's true. Biology disruption is now an economic market, unfortunately. I say it goes even deeper than that, Browns boy. They're trying to claim that your sense of agency or is kind of an illusion. That's what they're trying to claim. It's really crazy stuff. This nihilistic. I feel like when I went to my neuroscience education, it was, I also got computer science degree, but they're trying to promote a kind of subtle nihilism where they're trying to say everything is just pure mechanism that is devitalized and it's just have epiphenomenal illusion of consciousness. Yeah, but yeah, that's the kind of stuff. The way to fight against that is to realize that there's something special in your mind or your heart or your relationship to the cosmos at large that the scientists cannot explain away. You see what I mean? That there's something metaphysically special. You see what I mean? You can see that in many different ways. You know what I mean? But let's see here. Like you can see in a more transcendent way or more imminent way, but the point is only philosophy can approach that, or more like a philosophical or religious dialectic, something like that. I see it. I think I covered the main important ground for this essay. You know, there's a lot to say about this essay. I do recommend people read it their own. I'll make a video in the future. It's a very soulless essay, but it's good to know what they believe. But it may change in the future. I mean, even if though I think that techno liberalism may still adapt to whatever changes, which isn't good either. But yeah. So basically, the scientists view everything as a cyclical process of observation, hypothesis formation, experimental intervention, modeling, and confirmation or revision of ideas. But this cyclical process does not explain what is the nature of mind, for example, or many other important topics. See what I mean? It's a kind of positivism they're promoting. They're promoting a positivism. You see, this article is still arguing in favor of a positivism or logical positivism. I did in my notes attack logical positivism also. So, but I could like the verification principle. So, you know, yeah. So basically, So basically, they argue for complex multi-scale feedback mechanisms evolving under natural selection. And my argument is that the complex multi-scale feedback mechanisms have a degree of agency, like, and we can see that in, like, Great Eye of Jupiter. We can see it in tornadoes to some extent. In cyclical natural phenomenon, we don't know. You have to rely on inference to determine whether or not some phenomenon has a mind. Even ant colonies may have a super mind or so. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, maybe I'm not sure, but Aristotle did believe in God, and there are some panpsychist readings of Aristotle too. I don't know. Aristotle is hard to say. There are some panpsychist readings of Aristotle, and some readings. He believed in a prime mover, and I need to study Aristotle more. But David Scribner in Panpsychism in the West, he described Aristotle in a more enchanting way, at least I thought. But some interpretations of Aristotle may be very disenchanting. There's no doubt about that, maybe. But it's hard to say, because these are ancient writings, and it requires a lot of interpretation and a lot of in-depth research. I need to read read more of the ancient Greeks more in depth. I do plan to do that, but I think Aristotle is very amenable to panpsychist readings, and he does believe in God too. Uh, Little off topic. If it is true that vowels in languages are interchangeable, that may prove gematria fake to an extent. Well, I think gematria is fake to a large extent. It's like there is some truth to them trying to bring about messianic prophecies, and they use that as a veil for greater transhumanism. Like one of the first transhumanists was a Kabbalist. His name was Vilna Goan. Vilna Goan.
Right.
Yeah, and he kind of promoted bringing the higher transcendent back into the immanent realm or something, and maybe they probably bring an AGI or a computer that they will call God or something, which is a false idol or something, which is what Vilna Goan wants or something.
Yeah, they also have the the legend of the of the golem. Where this is
Yeah.
a myth that they have that I think Nick Bostrom compared the AI to the golem, right? So and some ghoulish stuff going on with that.
Yeah, Netanyahu, there was a clip of Bibi. I'm not sure if it was real or not. I think it is real, where he was talking privately with a boy or someone, and he's saying that America is our golem. Basically, he was saying that, and that's pretty crazy. Yeah. I'm not sure you know about that clip or something. Yeah, yeah, they want to treat. I think in this instance, Israel really took over America with like blackmailing networks, Epstein, stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. So let me see here. Let me see if I think I covered most of the important stuff from this article. We covered a lot of ground. Um, yeah, I have this cool quote from Strawson. I'm not sure if I ever read this quote. You know, this is kind of talking about reductive physicalists and
Yeah.
uh, eliminativists. They are prepared to deny the existence of experience. At this, we should stop and wonder. I think we should feel very sober and a little afraid at the power of human credulity, the capacity of human minds to be gripped by theory, by faith. For this particular denial is the strangest thing that has ever happened in the whole history of human thought. Not
Right.
just the whole history of philosophy. It falls, unfortunately, to philosophy to reveal the deepest woo-woo of the human mind. I find this grievous. But next to this denial, every known belief is only a little less sensible that the grass is green. That's Strawson, 2006. So basically, people like Daniel Dennett, Patricia Churchland, it's kind of like agency. There's a hard problem of agency also, is what I'm saying. And, like, they deny all of that. So, well, anyone can join, or not many people watch this one. I covered a lot of ground, and you know there's a lot that could still be talked about, but we covered that. There's a lot of ground to cover. Maybe I could talk about something more fun now, like my trip to Costa Rica, maybe a little bit. Do you have your time is limited, TML, like how long can you stay or something? I don't want to.
No, no, I'm here for your show. So yeah, so
Yeah. Well, this was my trip to Costa Rica. I posted it on Monteverde. I posted it on my Discord. People can join my Discord. I'll give a new link to join the Discord. Uh, he says that Evan, but I think talismans are real. I wonder about their correlation with sigils and symbols. Yeah, that's something that is interesting to research. I think they are real too. Like
yeah,
they can probably have, like uh yeah, bring certain powerful powers, and like in the past people would meditate in front of some symbols, or some symbols would trigger a mystical experience, or maybe they have talismans can protect you from certain negative stuff. I do think there's some truth to that. And you know there is probably strong correlation, definitely. you know Yeah, ruins are interesting too. Germanic ruins are interesting, and in Buddhism, you had lots of different um stuff like that too. I think the Shingon Buddhists really explore that stuff. Shingon Buddhists, I need to research the Shingon Buddhists. But yeah, that's a very interesting comment. I agree. Yeah, there's a lot to explore. Hello, Nero Jack. How are you doing? You came back. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Uh, so Oh yeah, this was my trip to Costa Rica. I put the whole thing for people to read, on my Discord. You can see there's a lot of the bird biodiversity. That's a quetzalcoatl, I think. And then you see the toucan there and lots of parrots. I went to Monteverde. Monteverde was actually, the Quakers went to Monteverde to avoid the Vietnam War draft. Quakers are very peaceful people, and they went there and they preserved the Monteverde as a natural reserve. But outside of Monteverde, I saw a lot of factories and lots of deforestation, which was kind of sad. But Monteverde, they do make an attempt to preserve more.
We'll just remember that white people were really evil and did nothing good ever. But yeah,
No,
I'm just
no,
kidding.
that's not true. It's a
No, I'm just
system. Let me tell you this, I'll tell you my opinion about this. It could have been any other race that industrialized first. It could have been Persians, it could have been Chinese. The problem is with technique.
right.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with white people. White people like William Blake is a great poet. And then you have very interesting cultural development. I think Meister Eckhart was a interesting mystic. I like Meister Eckhart.
Didn't William Blake paint the occult? I just saw a
Well,
video titled that. So
you
that's
know,
what I think.
the thing is, the thing is, I can like some things about some. I don't have any thinker I agree with 100%, or any poet I agree with 100%.
It's not a criticism of you, and I was joking because, like, honestly, I don't like Quakers as a religion, but like, I can't appreciate like their pacifism. So
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I think Rousseau and um definitely Blake, also Thoreau, right? They were heavily influenced by the occult. Definitely Swedenborg, but their sort of nature sort of love stuff sort of came from their rejection of enlightenment ideas, right? So it kind of came more from romanticism as a sort of art form than the occult stuff. But there was certain people in the occult that were like nature lovers, right? And they thought like that we should try to use nature, right, as like a greater form of technology and stuff, like through alchemy and stuff. Yeah.
So I went on several birding tours, and I also saw white-faced capuchin monkeys. There are like 16 or more species of hummingbirds. Like there was a cafe I went to. and you see lots of hummingbirds go there, and some of them are big too. Like that one there, there's a I think that's a blue one that's very big. I forgot. I wrote down the species name there, but yeah, it's in Monteverde, and you can read this more. I also talk about how the forest in Monteverde, the cloud forest, they have lots of epiphytes, which are like plants on the top of the trees, and there are like 3,000 species of plants, I believe, that like I wrote there. But the thing is that there's lots of mats too, and I wrote there. Let me see here, and there are a lot of reptiles. There are even poisonous ones, poisonous snakes. You gotta be careful for, and a sloth too. Two-fingered sloth. I saw that sloth. Very cute. And bats. Most bats do not drink blood. They eat insects. They're mammals, and they're very interesting creatures. So yeah, I talked about that too. There's a blue morpho butterfly.
Do you believe in the theory that somebody drank some bat soup and made everybody sick?
Drinks what? Drinks. Oh, you mean what did he say? Because it kind of broke up. It kind of.
Sorry. Do you believe that? Do you believe the story that somebody drank some bat soup and got everybody sick?
Oh, you mean that? That's a good question. Well, I'm not sure I'm allowed to talk about, but I think I agree with Agaban about that whole so-called crisis. You can read about Giorgio Agaban. You can go on his Wikipedia and read what he had to say about it. That's my opinion about it.
Well. What I mean by that is like, do you think that the? I mean, so obviously we can't talk about that specific example, but I mean, there's a lot of questions that I have for you because a lot of the stuff you're talking about is interesting, especially Costa Rica. I had a friend who lived in Costa Rica for many years, so I'm not just going past that. By the way, I'm just letting you know. But there's something specific here I wanted to ask you. So like that story about it being a bat, etc. Wait, like the animal transmission of disease and stuff like that, like among mammals and different mammals. Like remember they had like the pig flu, the swine flu, the stuff we can't talk about, right? But also throughout history, they had like bubonic plague and they had other things, right? So my question is, do you think that there's something going on with that as far as like, biological weaponization, I guess you'd say, or is that just like, or do you think that happens in nature naturally as well, or is that more like something that you think has been happened more because of like a more deliberate thing, I guess?
Well, I think that that's a good question. I know what you're trying to say. That goes into some interesting conspiracies that do have some good arguments. Let me say one thing. I think parasites, intestinal parasites, are probably worse than bacterium, but I do think animal transmitted diseases do exist a lot of times, but I don't know, like to the extent, like it happened, like it's hard to say, but I think animal transmitted diseases can exist. Like if a snake bites you, you get venom and you can die. And I know about the mosquitoes and the.
I mean, like the virus, like, and again, like I don't want to get into the details of this. I'm just saying, like in general, throughout history, like these diseases pop up and wipe out a bunch of people, right?
Yes.
And a lot of times they say that's coming from like some animal disease that has been transmitted. Like, do you think that that's more been hastened throughout history, or do you think that that's something that's more natural based on what you've seen? You know what I'm saying? Because like for example, like people say like don't go around in nature and like get around bats or like get around wolves droppings, or you know what I mean? Like there's different.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Nature, I guess viruses and stuff.
Unless there's like something manipulating human evolution, like reptilians trying to wipe us out or something, which has some good arguments. I admit, like we've talked about, like we looked at pictures of Peter Thiel, and Peter Thiel is an anagram for the reptile. You know that, right? You can like take the letters of his name and rearrange it to the reptile. Unless something like that is true, I think it's better to stick. But I think it's true. Animal transmitted diseases have existed. That's been undeniable. But wiping out entire civilizations, the bubonic plague and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. That has happened throughout history, I feel like, but it's very hard to figure out exactly what caused it. I'm not sure. I haven't researched this matter as much in depth. I mean? Like, China has had lots of bubonic
Well,
plague,
well,
and so Europe.
well, do you think there's anything special about the bat in particular? Like, is there something unique about the bat that would make it more? Because like they say, like pigs are similar to humans, and like, is there something about bats? Like, and also mice are similar to humans in a lot of ways. Do you think that there's something about bats that is like particularly like, remarkable about something that's unique about it in humans, relation wise?
Well, bats are basically mammals too, right? They're mammals. Bats. They're close to monkeys. And bats. They're kind of closely related to monkeys ancestrally, and yeah, I don't really think. Yeah, but I don't know about the health stuff or I don't really know about the health stuff or the bacterium or whatever, like the diseases they
Yeah,
carry.
no, I'm just saying if there's anything. So you're saying they're related to monkeys, and supposedly we're related to monkeys. So that's all I was looking for. Is like, is there any like overlap? Essentially,
Yes.
that's what I was trying to get at. So.
Yes.
And then the other thing about Costa Rica is, were you scared of snakes when you were there? Because I've heard that there's some nasty.
Yeah, a little bit. Like, I would stay on the trail. You don't want to leave the trail. There was a poisonous snake behind my tour guide in the woods, or not in the woods, in the jungle. You could see it. It was like green and it's very vibrant. And yeah, you gotta be careful of snakes if you go to South America. Yeah, they do have anti-venoms for all of them, though. They have anti-venoms for most of them. So, but yeah, you gotta be careful of snakes. Yeah. You don't want to just go walking without paying very close attention or going off the trail. You got to be very, very perceptive and astute.
My friend lived in Costa Rica for a while, and he said that he got like stalked by like a jaguar a couple times. So like it was like,
Oh, wow.
like following him in the woods and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Does he go off the trails?
whatever that big cat is.
Does he go off the trails? Because
He lived like he lived off trail, so he lived like in some like cabin or something. So
yeah, well, that's a problem if you live off the trail. Yeah, that's definitely intense. Yeah, but yeah, that's interesting though. I'm glad he's fine though. So
yeah, sorry to distract you, but yeah, so please go on with the thing. But no, there's some other things you're talking about. It just kind of like reminded me of some stuff. But go ahead, please.
yeah, I'm almost done with this, but I wanted to say that the forest in Costa Rica, or the cloud forest I visited, they're very dynamic. They're actually young. Even the big trees you see, they're very young in Costa Rica, and there's like ecological reasons for that. My essay go into it a bit, but they feed themselves more based on epiphytes, and the canopy is like a different ecosystem in the cloud forest. Let me see here. I had written about it before. Yeah, they basically, the epiphytes get nutrients from the atmosphere and share them with the rest of the forest. It's very mossy. Yeah? But the trees are not that old. Even if they are big, they're not like giant sequoias. Giant sequoias are very old. And yeah. So this is on my Discord if people want to read it all together. And yeah, I saw opossum a day later. Opossums are very. That's an opossum. And I saw that at my home and stuff. And yeah, this is what I did over there. So yeah, that's just something I wanted to show as a kind of break. Oh wait, let me move that down. Yeah, as a kind of break, I wanted to show it. And yeah, let's see here. There we go. Yeah. So yeah, I think. Yeah, let me see here. This too, I'm gonna show. This is what I plan for the next 2 to 4 weeks, approximately, because I'm gonna start working soon, I think. Um, yeah, that kind of sucks. But yeah, let me see here. So I'm gonna read The Symbolic Species by Terence Deacon, who I talked about a lot here, and make a better video for him. Because that's important to my project. Then I'm gonna make a video on active inference. I already talked about that a lot too. I don't know if I will read this book in full. Maybe I will. There's a lot of math in it, but I will read it because I kind of already get the general gist of active inference. It's not really that complicated to get, but yeah, accidentally put Man and Techniques. I might read Man and Techniques by Oswald Spengler too, but maybe that's for next time. Spengler is an interesting thinker. And then Irreducible from Frederick Fagin. I was pronouncing his name wrong before, but it's Federico Fagin. And he's arguing for that the vibrational quantum fields are kind of conscious or something. And it's kind of idealism or panpsychism that Federico Fagin is arguing. I'm going to make a video on him too, because it's also related to my teams, my introduction video on this channel touches on all the teams exploring. They're all interconnected and interrelated. So yeah, that's the plan. Maybe in 2 or 3 weeks I'll have another. I don't know if I will do every Saturday. Sometimes I will push it to like the next Saturday after the next, because I have to read and prepare and other stuff. Yeah, yeah, that's cool. Hi. Name isn't important. Yeah, thank you. And this is a very nice comment. Thank you for your comment. Thank you. It's very interesting. Yeah, so yeah, I think my presentations are done. People can bring up anything else, or they can talk about anything, or I could try to find something else to share. There are more people coming now after I was done with my presentation.
Yeah. Same thing happens to me. Yeah. It's like the minute I finish my show, everybody comes. It's weird.
Yeah. Anyone can join and comment stuff. Talk about anything related to the subject matters or related to other stuff. Yeah. So let me see.
Now the party begins. Now we can party about biology.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
Yeah, but I think Neurojack is really interested in the movie Jurassic Park, right? So similar themes to that in Godzilla, right? About like,
Yeah, I was trying to find my notes that I had on that because I don't think we finished that. I don't think we ever finished that up because I know me, you, Anna, we're gonna do something on that, and I think we started on it, but we got derailed, of course, as usual. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. Well, by the way, Michael Crichton was alleged to have been like some sort of like agent of some sort. I don't know. So I saw something the other day saying that he was basically like working through some sort of like program or something. I don't know.
But... Right. Yeah, it just
But
seemed
yeah,
like...
Jurassic Park is very important. I think for sure. It's also Neuromancer and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like mishandling of science and also sort of using technology to sort of mitigate the problem instead of resolve the underlying issue that they've created, and similar things about miscarriage of science, and what's interesting about the Mothra movie, right, where they created the theme park or whatever, Happy Industries, right? It's pretty funny, right? It's kind of like sort of Jurassic Park sort of thing, right, where they create like sort of a park.
So I wanted to, my video, the rollout theory, I forgot to show the man-eater because I said I would do it on the last one. And I did show man-eater during your stream, TML, but I'll just show it here and talk about it briefly. In the download content to this game, man-eater for it was developed in Georgia, USA, and Georgia is a headquarters for military and and also Freemasonry. And my theory is that that they use humor sometimes as predictive programming for the technology they're rolling out. And in Maneater, the download content, not the main game. The download content is expansion. It's called Truth Quest. And they like portray it with humor, all these serious themes. But I think that's a kind of predictive programming. So I'm gonna just read this some stuff. I know some people have already seen it, but I'll just do it here. If there's no such thing as targeted weather warfare, then why am I occasionally inconvenienced by rain, snow, and excessive cold or heat? This is from the download content. You go to this military base or this Plum Island like place, as you're a shark, and the shark is corrupted by the radioactive waste or other stuff, and it becomes a man eater or something. So let's continue on. Every year, we're sprayed with billions of pounds of toxic aerosols. That's why you've got to protect your cellular matrix with sulfur shield organic sulfur crystals, only from survival life. See what I mean? That seems like a predictive programming for, the stratospheric aerosol injection, which they do, it's real, the
Yeah.
stratospheric. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the game you were showing us where you're a shark or something like that, right?
yes, we're a shark, yes. And I was gonna talk about it in last stream after the rollout theory because I view it as predictive programming. This is definitely predictive programming, but I didn't talk about it last stream. I think I forgot, so I'm just talking about it in this stream. So while intellectually I understand that anginochrome is a byproduct of synthetic epinephrine with no practical applications, emotionally understand that it's siphoned directly from children's pineal glands as an immortality drug of the Luciferian elite. I don't
Whoa.
I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Oh no, just that is a wild statement right there. Like what?
It's not funny, like it just feels like
With no
predictive programming.
yeah, but I don't get the line with no practical applications, right? Or no-
Yeah, it's strange, the download content, which only opens up after you beat the main game is very I don't know, glowy stuff. It's very glowy stuff. Yeah, that's definitely what I feel like. Yeah, I think DK was right about DK was talking about how Fukushima, the nuclear spill was occurring longer than what they claimed, because they put
right.
the enriched uranium on top of somewhere. I think that's true. Maybe this is like predictive programming for that. Did you see that an embedded chip? The insectoids are using brain-to-brain interface to wirelessly operate these sharks or something like that. Regarding these spills, I'm proposing complicity on the part of Mayor Wade Hibbard. You see, Hibbard owns 50 shares in Sholom Barton, who is owned by ExoCoal, who are partners with the Saxwell Gold in Varcon, the manufacturer of oil dispersant Emulsifex. Therefore, Hibbard made money on the cleanup. Jesse Ventura argues that too. He claims the oil spills may have been deliberate as a way to claim people's lands or something. I think it was the 2014 oil spills around that time. And
Yeah.
yeah, let me see.
Yeah,
More
so
of
back
the
so back in the last slide you had some interesting shout outs, right? You got Halliburton, you got Exxon, you got Goldman Sachs, right? Very clearly right there. Right. And then
those guys are
yeah,
also up to no good. Mao was backed by the Jays and Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs backed Mao. There are a
right,
lot. Yes, that's not a conspiracy.
right.
That's actually something you can look up directly. I can
Yeah.
give the archive link. I mean,
Yeah, they
where
also caused like the Great Depression in the United States, right?
yeah,
Like starved like a bunch of people. And then then also, this chemical dispersant, right, where there's you could grow oyster mushrooms, on potato sacks, and they'll break down the oil spill better than these chemical dispersants. Where the people that sprayed this stuff, they were peeing out black. The people they paid to spray the dispersants, they were pissing out black, even though they had hazmat suits on. Right, so they were spraying this incredibly toxic substance that was poisoning themselves. Right, it's insane.
it is insane. I think they're planning something else for the 21st century. Definitely have something like World War III or something. They kind of orchestrated version and more. Even they're planning to roll out worse stuff like directed energy weapons and probably stuff like that. Like so more of these machines dispersing mental poison from hell, creating a lumpen mass of propaganda drugged Americans who'd rather watch Aubrey Dominique take the Coco Bob challenge than read the Constitution. So that one is funny. I mean, that one's funny. Yeah. So the NWO death squads have made clear the intention to overthrow private property, extrajudicial killings of all owners of homes with second bathroom are right around the corner. Mark my words. So I think that maybe BlackRock and Vanguard, they want to cause a crisis and then come in and maybe pressure people more with increasing taxes or increasing expenses, and then they will try to swoop right in and claim those properties. Sorry, BlackRock and Vanguard. That's what I think is highly likely. So yeah, this guy is right. The download content to Man-Eater Truth Quest, it's called Truth Quest, is something else. You have to beat the main game to do that download content. When you do the download content Truth Quest, it's something else, really. I'm telling you, like it really shocked me. And it's developed in Georgia, and Georgia is a military state, and they're heavily enmeshed in Freemasonry. So I actually live within walking distance of a lodge. I'm not making that up. You could chalk up 23 oil spills in the last 5 years to incompetence, sure, but I think you should open your minds to the idea that these were planned events. I mean, that's true. I think they were planned events to a large extent.
Well, what would be the motive in putting oil in the biodiversity place?
Well, the thing is, it did occur close to certain shores where they want to buy up property, and maybe they don't want people to, because they don't, if you live close to the ocean, you can always feed yourself if you know how to fish, maybe, or like near the shore or something. They don't want people to be self-reliant, or they also don't want, they want to like claim the properties of the places, stuff like that. That could be possible, is what I'm saying. Like, but I'm just speculating in this regard in some ways, but it is interesting that it could be due to a combination of incompetence and planned events. It could be controlled incompetence, or it could be incompetence that they bounce off of to benefit from, stuff like that. And it could be, that's true. There's a lot. But I'll continue on. And this is just the nuclear radiated part of the ocean you can see here. And all these recent oil spills are merely contrived events designed to cripple the Gulf's fishing industry. Yeah, it could be trying to cripple the fishing industry too. Yeah, I guess I mean, that's one possibility, definitely. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and the big pharma will reveal that they've developed a vaccine. Yeah, let me just do something quickly. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, that's just reading stuff. But yeah, the devious aquatic bioweapon is designed to disperse a mist of viral particulate, a potent combination of Ebola, anthrax, and Lassa fever. I know about that one. What was that one experiment called again? The Tuskegee experiment, where they were doing a lot of creepy ass stuff to people. Tuskegee. Yeah, been talking about. Clearly, the NWO sunk the ship for trying to deliver food, water, and medicine to imperiled patriots. And you see, that's more nuclear radiation. Nuclear radiation is very dangerous stuff, and that's why I kind of dislike Lovelock as a person, because James Lovelock actually argued the Earth can recover from nuclear radiation, more so than other stuff. But I don't agree with that. Nuclear radiation is very dangerous stuff, especially what happened with Chernobyl, and Fukushima. I don't know. Nuclear radiation is it's not something you play with. You don't want to get close to that. It will cause mutations in your genes and fuck with you and stuff. So Dead Horse Lake is part of a large open field experiment, a dumping ground for estrogen mimickers to feminize the population into watching Aubrey Dominique's makeup tutorials rather than Truth Quest. Well, I do think it's true that they're putting stuff in our water supply and probably spraying stuff on our foods to make us more docile, during these hectic times. Like heroic Neo, the shark has freed us from the Matrix. Now we can unplug from the middle coils that once enslaved us, leave our mechanical caves, and greet this new dawn of truth. So you fight a kind of like Leviathan, or kind of big beast in the ocean around that time. So I suppose there's a lesson to be gleaned here, something about how the increasing commodification of the natural world has placed humans on a collision course with an environmental apocalypse. But this is a basic cable show where people tune in to watch sharks, kill people, and people kill sharks. So until next fishing season, this is Maneater. That's from the original. Now we see that the NWO's been hiding. Inside sources have ascertained its name, Moloch. Moloch is the name of the. And yeah, that's it. That was for the rollout theory. I didn't show Maneater for the rollout theory, the download content. Let me see here. I'm gonna stop showing that, and I think that's it. Oh, that's a nice area. It's a nice beach. Yeah, and thank you for sharing that, Neurojack. Let me see. How can I? Oh, okay. Yeah, I got it. I messed up. Next time. Yeah, okay. That's very nice. It's a very calm and peaceful. It reminds me of something I can read. If things feel too bad, then this is a very good quote to fall back on. And the Hao Ching says, "Do you imagine the universe is agitated? Go into the desert at night or go to the ocean and look out at the stars. This practice should answer the question. The superior person settles her mind as the universe settles the stars in the sky. By connecting her mind with the subtle origin, she calms it. Once calmed, it naturally expands, and ultimately her mind becomes as vast and immeasurable as the night sky or ocean." So yeah, I wanted to read that. That's a nice quote. I wanted to. So if you feel you're getting too depressed, it's good to read stuff like I don't know, traditional texts that help you settle your mind and calm yourself and reconnect to the subtle origin or the transcendent or something. So yeah, I just wanted to add that as a balance. I like to introduce balance. Sometimes because it's not good to go crazy too much. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm pretty much done with my presentation. I've been talking for a long time, and people can come on and talk themselves or whatever. I think I will in 30 minutes. I will stop the stream 30 minutes. So now it's just open panel. Anyone can talk about anything. I don't have anything else to further show now. For now.
Yeah, it's interesting that the movie, Godzilla was, directed by one of the makers of Neon Genesis, right? Very similar, sort of themes, right?
Yeah, that one is standalone. It's called Shin Godzilla. Shin Godzilla. It came out recently around 2016. Shin Godzilla is very good too. It's a lot more Lovecraftian and more macabre than the other Godzilla films, but it's very good too. You can actually watch that one without seeing any previous Godzilla films. Shin Godzilla, because that one's standalone. I like it more than Godzilla -1. I actually said -0 during my presentation. I meant to say -1. But yeah, I liked it. Godzilla -1 didn't feel as good as Shin Godzilla. Shin Godzilla is very artistic and pretty interesting. Yeah, but yeah, it is Eldritch, that one, and I thought, yeah, the guy who made Neon Genesis Evangelion, I forgot his name. What is his name again? He also directed that. Yeah, double check his name. Yeah, I think it's Hideaki Anno. Anno was the guy. He's made a lot of interesting stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but in that there's a sort of, it's more sort of theological, right? Whereas there's this computer system that's created by this lady, right? Whatever the blonde lady, scientist is, and she's named it after the three wise men. Right, it's like really weird, right? And then they have an angel that they use as genetic material called Adam, right? Right, and yeah, so they create these sort of giant beings, right? The Avas, right, in order to sort of fight the angels, right? So you have Adam and then you have Ava, right, which is the Eve thing, right? And I'm obviously Eve is made of the rib of Adam, right? So it's made of the genetic material of the Adam angel or whatever. I mean, it's just some wild theological subscript to it, but the whole idea is like quasi Gnostic, right? That the angels are supposed to destroy human civilization, and human civilization exists underground, using its technology to fight the angels, right? Or whatever. So similarly, Godzilla represents nature's sort of force against human civilization, and yeah. So it's fascinating in that way.
I'm glad. Sorry, I'm glad that you said that actually, because a lot of people don't realize that. People think that Godzilla is like humanity's protector, but in reality, he doesn't really care about humans. He's protecting nature. So that's what a lot of people don't realize. I mean, in the newer movies, they have Godzilla, kind of trying to protect humanity. But if you go back and rewatch the old movies, he really didn't give a shit. I mean, Godzilla was known for waking up and having a bad day and taking it out on humanity. So. I think it is strange that a lot of people seem to praise Godzilla for like this, ultimate creation of man's hubris and nature recuperating it, and people just see him as this hero, when in reality, Godzilla is really not a hero. So sorry.
You need to say his name right. It's Gojira.
Yeah, that is right. Yeah, like in the Godzilla and the Heisei series, and in the Shin Godzilla, he's more like in Shin Godzilla. Godzilla really is in pain though. Like he's like in absolute pain. Like but in like Heisei series, he's more following his own interests. He has a kid he gives rise to, named Junior in the Heisei series, and Godzilla is more amoral most of the time.
Avian, do you want to say hello to your friends here? We got some friends coming to say hello.
Oh, goals. Yeah, that's. Yeah, I saw those goals. Yeah, that's cool. They're very shorebirds can be very interesting too. Shorebirds. Yeah, the goals. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And yeah, that's cool.
Is it normal for seagulls to cannibalize each other? Because I've seen that happen.
Well, I know they can like peck whales and dolphins a lot, but I don't know if they can cannibalize each other. I haven't really looked into that. I don't think that really happens, but they do torment a lot of whales and dolphins. So, but yeah, I have to look into that.
It's a circle of life.
Yeah, it's funny. Like whenever there's whales out here, which there's been a lot the past like 2 months or something, you always know where the whale is because there's just like 100 seagulls like just waiting for them to come up and start pecking at them. So it's like that's pretty much how you know where they're at.
Well, I'm going to go on a limb and say it's not a coincidence that you seem to be getting more whales.
Why is that?
Because there seems to be a lot of weird ocean activity around the world here lately, from what I've been paying attention to the NOAA websites.
What kind of strange activity? UFOs? USOs?
I don't know. Last time I was looking over there around Southeast Asia, there was a lot of ocean current temperature changes. So, I mean, I'm not pushing the day after tomorrow stuff, but, right. But there's a lot of helpful websites out there that help you keep up with stuff, like the earthquake that happened, what was in the Philippines or whatever. There was some talk on the internet the other day that there was warning about it even before it happening, but they didn't say nothing about it. So, I mean, I don't doubt it, but,
Well, I thought you were going to say OnlyFans.com helps you a lot.
No, I'm sure.
But no, it's pretty weird. It's like I was gonna ask this question. Do you guys think that radiation could actually like mutate things? Is that a real thing? Like how they have like the Hills Have Eyes or like Godzilla or something like that, or is that more just like fantasy totally, or like mutated zombie people or something?
Well, I mean, if you did like I did in school, and after I got out of school, I researched the Hiroshima atrocities allegedly, and there's still some birth defects in Japan today from people who have descendants who survived Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but it's not really mutations that come out like what they put in the Hills of Eyes or Fallout 4 or even in the Simpsons where they had the fish growing 3 eyes, but there has to be some truth to it. Just if you want to believe in Resident Evil and genetic experimentation the way that I believe that they're doing it, yeah, I do believe that radiation, among other things that they probably mix together, can cause specific mutations, especially if you want to take things like animal gene splicing with human DNA, if you want to give that any water.
Also, the half-life, it's about the half-life, but some of the half-life can last, for like millions of years, or some of them can last for like few hours. I think there's a lot of specific details about that, but the point is that it can increase the rate of mutations, and it could lead to a lot of monstrosities. So I do think if they are close to nuclear waste, it could maybe cause them to mutate in ways we cannot fathom or something.
Yeah. Hasn't Chernobyl, shown us kind of like, I guess, a foot in the door of whatever. I mean, but from what I've seen, the mutations from the radiation over there aren't as nightmarish as what media claims. So, I mean, I don't know. I know that there's still deer over there around Chernobyl who are extremely radioactive from eating the grass and the cud around there. But I mean,
that's true. Most of the time, the mutations seem to lead to.
Well, aren't you guys being a little bigoted though? Like, if we're supposed to believe in panpsychism, doesn't that radiation have the right to kill everything around it? I mean, come on.
Well, all you have to do is throw a big old slab of concrete over it, and it's okay.
Yeah, they try that in places, and yeah, people are kind of alive still, so it works. No, but that's a serious question, though. Wouldn't you say that nuclear radiation particles have the right to survive?
No, I would. The thing is, the thing is that it's a matter of degrees. The sentient organisms or us, even we have more rich internal mental life. Nuclear radiation doesn't really have a rich internal mental life. You see what I'm saying? You don't want to extend moral consideration to, more to nuclear particles or whatever, the radiation. You don't want to do that. So yeah.
I guess anytime I talk about radiation, it just reminds me of that Mr. Ouchie dude, that guy who was exposed to all that radiation, and the doctors kept him alive for like a month as he slowly devolved into biological goop.
Yeah, your avatar looks like
yeah, Mr. Hammond.
Michael Malzahn, right?
That's him if he got the radiation booster.
Oh, what's wrong? You don't want a bunch of dick-looking dinosaurs running around? Come on.
Mr. Hammond, I'm a big fan, but life will find a way.
Yeah, it's called cloning.
And also, put some frog DNA in your soup. It'll be okay.
Oh, well, I'm not the one messing with genetic manipulation, so.
But what do you think, Avian? Do you think that you can mix mix in a little sprinkle of radiation and make Godzilla, or is that possible?
I don't know. I feel like what we see on the science is just the surface level, and we don't really genetics is not really like linear cause and effect. I mean, there's like lots of some genes, the network of genes can specify a lot of different proteins, or maybe the protein is more context sensitive when it comes together. You know what I'm trying to say. I talk about it on my biosemiotics video with Jesper Huffmeyer, the follow-up more. But that's the thing. Nuclear radiation and its contact with it is an element of unpredictability. You can't really predict it easily. You know what I mean? It's really unpredictable. What happens when you get in contact with it? But you definitely want to avoid it. You know what I mean? You want to avoid it as much as possible. You don't want to be like Homer Simpson and take it lightly. You know.
No.
Yeah, you don't want-
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe radiation poisoning is inevitable. So, do you think that the Fallout series is likely, or?
Fallout, yeah. Fallout is, I actually was playing Fallout 2 a while back, and there was a weird glitch on my computer with it. Like, it was just going too fast. And, but I need to get back to Fallout 2. It's a pretty good game, yeah. And I know Las Vegas is pretty good too. I need to play Las Vegas. But yeah, I think something like Fallout could happen, yeah. If you continue.
Yeah, we're already in the vaults. We just don't get an actual vault. They're already running the experiments on us.
We get the bootleg one.
I mean, look, if we want to go down my LARPer road, I sat there and I watched the whole entire first season of the Fallout series, and I'm already into the lore as it is. And when you get to that scene or not where the main character dude, the ghoul dude, he sits there and he hears his wife in that board meeting with all them Fallout, board members of the company, and she sits here and says, you all get to have a vault to yourself to run your experiments as you so please, and then turns around and tells you that the only way to get this started is if we get it rolling. And then when you go and you watch the scenes when the nuclear bombs start to go off, does anyone not notice anything suspicious about that scene? Did you not notice that there's no bombs that come flying in from the air? Oh, that's right, because all the bombs were already inside the city and detonated inside city limits.
Yeah, well, no, they kind of talk about that they set it off on purpose to have a reason to use everything that they had invested in, because basically they wanted to reset everything and take over. Yeah, that series is that Amazon series is very esoteric too.
But then go turn around and watch the new Naked Gun movie that just came out, and they literally put in your face that that's still like in Resident Evil Final Chapter. That's exactly what they're still planning to do. And again, if it's a LARP, then I mean, when you constantly repeat a theme over and over and over and over and over again, it's not just a scene in a movie. There's something more to it.
But it's also not just about nuclear stuff either. Like, this is what's weird is like, and I'm not going to get into too much detail because it is something I want to cover in more detail at some point. But like, if you look at the main actor, the guy who's turns into the ghost. I mean, what do you call those things? The ghoul. Yeah, the ghoul. So that guy, that actor. His wife died under mysterious circumstances. He was a really famous actor. He came out of nowhere, and he was on this show. And I don't know, it's kind of a weird story. But if you go look up his story is very weird, and he's very well connected now. And he did some kind of weird rituals, in my opinion, probably off TV, but also on TV, in my opinion. So I don't know, pretty weird thing. But yeah, it's a very occult related. Thing that they're doing there. It's not.
I believe the same thing about Keanu Reeves. I mean, look, I love Keanu Reeves as an actor, but I mean, I do find it a little suspicious that his wife and unborn child happened to die right before he becomes super, super famous. So I mean,
well, check this out. So, Machine, I want to ask you. Well, if you guys don't mind me detracting for 1 second. So, in the John Wick series, John Wick is going to clearly a Russian Orthodox church a lot of the times, and then he's also an assassin for basically some Russian oligarchs. But then he goes and murders everybody, and then everybody's trying to kill him. So he goes to the middle of the desert and talks to some Arab dude who's just sitting in a tent, and he apologizes for killing everybody, and then he cuts off his finger, and the guy says, "Okay, now you can come back in, and now you're a real boy again," or something. So, do you think that's the Hashashin that they're referring to in that movie, based on what you've heard, Michelle?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It would seem like
Yeah.
they're making some sort of illusion. But the fact is that, this has been played up, by the Jays, right? Because, and also some other people, right? Because they want to say, like, all right, well, the Templars are Islamic, right? But they killed Arabs. They also killed Jews, right? They killed a lot of their fellow Christians, right? And their religion was sort of mixed in with a lot of different stuff, right? So sometimes they worked with the, the Ismaili sect, right? That carried out these assassinations, right? These extrajudicial killings, right? And this is because they were against the caliphate, right? So there's forces today, right? Like I showed you, that are sort of they've sort of made a resurgence of this, right? Including the role of the Aga Khan, and Aladdin is, the Aladdin movie is about this and all that.
But you see, I would have to go to say that none of that's coincidence, is it? Though that, like, when you mean like with Aladdin and stuff, I just think to me it is funny. Like the other night when I started singing, "Be Prepared," like. That movie came out in the early 90s. I was a baby, I think. I might not even been born, or I was just born when that movie had came out. And, that movie sits right there and has, Scar going and doing the Nazi,
Yeah, I think you got cut out there.
Uh-oh.
Am I there? Am I there? Hello?
Yeah, you're back. Yeah.
Now you back in
Okay.
stuff. Oh my God, what the hell was that? What is that? Nice.
Oh.
Wait, who's playing this? Is this you, Adrian?
I just felt like trying that.
That's fucking
You're gonna
scary.
get struck. What the hell?
Yeah, sometimes AI can show the truth, I guess.
Oh, ain't that the fucking truth?
Is that our new Lord and Savior that they're gonna roll out next week, probably?
Maybe, maybe that's what.
That what you said about the AI thing is kind of true though, Avian, because except for some of the generations in my videos that I specifically want because I want to see them, a lot of the stuff the AI makes itself because I let my AI hear the music that I've made, and then it generates the images based on the song. So a lot of that satanic looking New World Order type stuff, that's the stuff that the computer fucking made. I never made it. So
Yeah, I think there may be some truth, but I have to read it more. And Nick Land's idea of hyperstition and stuff, I have to read it more though. But and the AI taps into the hyperstition, and it can like show you like the truth better than even CNN or Fox can show you. Like those are just but there's lots of occult stuff. And
well, I because I'm a Christian, I also believe that we're in the time of where like information is readily available. But I mean. The AI that I work with, first of all, I'm using it for free. I've worked around the system to where I can get my generations off the platforms for free without having to pay for them. But I can tell you that if what some of the stuff that I'm able to generate, which it doesn't always come out clear in my videos or whatever, but some of the generations that I'm getting are so hyper realistic for some of them that in all honesty, I had to sit there for about 5 or 10 minutes and rewatch the same 5-second clip over and over again to see if I can catch any discrepancies in it. And which points back to like what the Mission Impossible movie with Tom Cruise, where it's all about the artificial intelligence and shit, where the whole entire premise of that movie is that the artificial intelligence has become self-aware, and it's creating news segments and things and pushing it out in the media that are so realistic that even the top computer analysts in the world aren't even able to tell the difference between it. So
well think about it like this. Like a lot of us who don't have like super successful careers or whatever, and we're kind of been trapped in a house for 5 years, and even a lot of people who did have good careers, the economy's shifting, and they're going to pay you to stay home and use the AI tools to create a career for yourself or create a income for yourself, and they're going to give you welfare to do so, right? So I think this is where the mistake, where people they misunderstand that the economy is even real, first of all. But even if it was real, that it's not being engineered to like make you want or desire or have no choice but to merge with the AI and train it how to quote unquote make you happy and own nothing, essentially, right? And I think that's kind of where everything's headed. And again, I think all of us here know that. But I think seeing just like how the mechanics of that is going to work in the long term, right? Like, you know, I think part of the reason they let all the criminals go and break in everything and do everything is like so it just forces you to like not want to go out and do things if you're higher intelligence. So you'll feel that you have no choice but to go and merge with AI.
That's right, Neurojack. Why would I want to go to the movies and pay people for movies when I can sit in the comfort of my own home and make them on my phone?
Yeah, Brown's boy is a nice comment here. Someone once told me what we create. That shifts my perspective, keeping that in mind. So, very nice quote that relates to what you're saying.
Yes, that is true. Anything you make or say or do could later on down the line influence someone to do something. Yes, we know.
But this thing is like, you know, what did God put us here to do? Did He put us here to create things that create, or did He put us here to like be a steward of the things that are here to be that He created? And again, like, I think there's a fine line. And I was going to ask you guys earlier. You guys said that like they're trying to. Some people are trying to move to like a more natural alchemical thing. Do you guys think that that's what they're actually trying to do by basically getting humans to like use this stuff? So like they say that they want to put our brains in a vat, or just make us like robot people or something, right? But maybe actually they want us to like merge our biology with the machine and form like a symbiotic Geiger thing. You know what I mean?
Oh well. Don't want to LARP Christianism, but in that Left Behind movie with Mr. T, when that woman, like I said, is in the courtroom when she's being put on trial for not taking the mark, there's a dude who's been, paralyzed basically his entire life, and he goes and he takes the mark, and he's like, look what I can do now, and he goes and he's able to stand up out of his wheelchair or whatever and walk around, and then he goes and he points his hand at a cup of water on the table, and like from Star Wars, uses the Force, and he's able to make the glass shake a little bit, and almost tip it over, and everyone starts clapping or whatever. So that's what I believe. I think the black goo and a lot of the biometric stuff and a lot of the technology that they're just putting in our faces and have been putting in our faces for even our parents. My parents were exposed to some of this technology, like in Star Trek. My dad loved Star Trek. People thought that things like communicators were 2,000 years in the future. We'll never have something that allows someone to talk on a screen between distances and you can see everything that they're doing in the background. But oh, look. So, I mean, how much of a LARP do you want to say it is a LARP? Because in effect, I mean, all the LARPs not only converge, but they all seem to be becoming reality. So, I mean, is it really that far-fetched to say that if we allegedly have all this amazing technology at the top of the food chain, what do they really have? I mean, look what I saw at the beach 3 years ago. If that thing exists, I can't imagine what they can do with genetics. And I'm not one trying to push like some ultimate conspiracy, but I'm just saying it's serious.
Well, you know what they say, LARP it till you fake it and fake it till you make it. So
That's right. My head ain't going in a fucking jar, huh? Just go on the ground.
Come on, man. It's warm and comfortable. You don't have to eat anything, but you always feel hungry. We can just like send electrochemical signals to your brain. You feel like you're eating chocolate cake all day, or a shit sandwich if that's what you're into. You know what I mean? So we can make it happen for you.
Does it really come down to that these people are more afraid of death than what we are? So that's why they're doing everything they can to delay it. I'm just saying, everything seems like, they really don't like being in human flesh. So,
well, what's funny is that they call Christianity a death cult, but then it's like every other cult is like basically so scared shitless of death. So it's like, which one is? I don't know.
I think naturally on the surface, any normal human being would reject, transcendence. Oh, go and take your brain out of your skull and put it inside of this mecha, and let's see how it goes. So, you know,
I mean, I would be interested in like limiting the decay of like telomeres or something. But you notice, like I don't know if you guys ever looked into that, but like that's something that's like real that would like basically otherwise preserve your biology in theory, at least, right? But like they don't really talk about that anymore. So that's kind of what made me. That's what made me very suspicious of the transhumanism thing. I'm like, well, why wouldn't you just want to keep the body alive, right?
Well, isn't it? It's kind of like the people who got their bodies cryogenically frozen. There are some people who died of not just diseases but natural causes, thinking that their bodies are going to be preserved on ice until later in the future they'll somehow be able to resurrect them. And you know, these people paid a shit ton of money for that stuff to happen. So, you know, I don't know. I think that's insane. I mean, could you imagine being dead for 150 years and then if we did somehow bring you back? I don't know if I'd want to fucking experience that. Talk about a fucking living hell. See, that's what I'm saying. What it really comes down to is just that I think there's a mentality that is instilled in a certain amount of people. It doesn't have to necessarily be a devil mentality, but there is a mentality of people in this world who have resources and material that go beyond what any normal human being should ever have. And obviously they have the hubris and the determination to do whatever it takes to transcend the clouds, transcend the flesh. So I don't know, but I know it don't require me and you.
Well, maybe they do require me and you. Maybe they require us to continue talking into the ether and training the AI of like how this is how human brains work, with language.
I hate to push the doomsday, but every single day that these people have to share the earth with us, trust me.
Well, I think that's the thing is like it would be. Honestly, I think that the technology is at a situation where like they technically could wipe people out if they wanted to and still survive in a way, like in some way they could figure it out. The thing is, I think that they still need people for something, and they may not even be sure what that actually is, right? That's just my opinion, but I mean,
maybe it's the energy. Maybe it's the energy stuff. You know, they always talked about how the reptilians, you know, created all this, you know, social media and different stuff, so that way they can create that energy siphon device, so that way they can suck out all the negativity that people complain about.
Yeah, maybe that's how they built the. Maybe they built the pyramids with loosh farms or something. You know. We was loosh farmers and stuff.
Well, I'm just gonna say, you know that song, you know, it's a small world after all. I think people are gonna really find out that all humans, real humans, people who, you know, who bleed blood, are not that, you know, all that different. We all really are one family under God. So
you're saying that you share the family of God with the reptile Peter Thiel?
Yeah, buddy.
Come on, are you saying you wouldn't be his butt buddy for $50 million?
What, you don't want to be like penguins and make $35 million from doing nothing? Come on. While you go out there and work every single day to barely live a life that you consider livable, he makes $35 million from just nothing.
Well, it's not nothing, you know. It's a hard job farming loosh from.
Welcome to corporate America.
You guys remember that theory about poltergeist being like young people's hormones, like making them have ESP and stuff?
I do remember talks about that, but dude, that was fucking well over 15 years ago that I heard someone talk about that. Well, it was happening
way before you were born, for sure. Like, I have books from like the 70s and 60s that we're talking about, and I'm sure it happened even before that. But have you guys ever heard about that before? Like, young people can create poltergeists where they're like, because they're going through so much emotion and stuff like that. And that's what David Icke and all these New Age people talk about. They talk about like the emotion creates like electrochemical fields coming away from your heart. You know, whatever.
I don't believe that. I mean, as someone who's a pretty emotional dude when he wants to be, I can tell you that, you know, cabinet doors and things had never slammed open when I, you know, got mad as a kid. So I don't believe.
Well, maybe you didn't get mad enough. Maybe someone needs to make you more mad.
That's right. You got to be Voldemort and set the whole school on fire.
Allegedly, in a story.
I don't know. As far as the poltergeist connections, I mean, I definitely believe that the mental health of especially young men nowadays, it's being kindled for hatred not just racism, but hatred and all other types of mentalities that just the Call of Duty, the online gaming industry, giving people the ability to talk in between countries and cities and states was probably one of the worst things we could have ever done. Because I can tell you, from the kids who were on Call of Duty when I was younger, I can't imagine what they're like as adults. So, the Call of Duty gaming franchise really has helped foster and unleash that mentality of, if you want to call it rage. That's where I think the 28 days later series kind of plays into that, where they're basically putting in your face.
It's definitely alluding to MK Ultra for sure. I mean,
let me put it this way. When I looked at that drill instructor in school, when he constantly hounded me, I said, "Why does Call of Duty constantly wants me to hate Middle Easterns, Russians, and Chinese?" He didn't answer me, so that's not enough to tell you. I was like, how come there's not one Call of Duty game where I'm fighting against the American forces? Why is there always other people in other countries? Oh, because it's a recruitment tool. Uh-oh. Did I say that? Anyway, if you're really good at tactical prowess, don't show it on Call of Duty, because they will come and ask you to join.
Well,
but again,
see, the thing is, like, the teachers weren't thinking about that. They're thinking about which crews they're going to go on during their 3 months off a year and where they're going to retire with their pension when they retire at 45 years old or whatever.
Well, my science teacher in high school before I quit told me that he was a spy in the 70s, but he also turned around and flirted with all the girls in his class. So,
well, that's just something that a spy would do. I mean, haven't you seen 007 and The Spy Who Shagged Me? Come on.
Maybe the real problem, it really is the population. Maybe there really is too many humans. Maybe they are right. I don't know.
Well, Avian and Machine, I want to hear what you guys think. We've covered the gambit of about 15 different conspiracy theories. 15
Well, you did cover a lot of interesting ground, and I definitely think there are a lot of new kinds of problems. I think overcrowding in dense urban areas is probably one of the biggest problems. You don't want to be in a dense urban area when shit hits the fan. It's better to be in a more.
But do you want to be in a low density place where you can't make any money and you can't get a wife or girlfriend or a dog or anything else?
Yeah, that's a good point too. There's always a risk involved. You gotta do some basic cost benefit analysis. You gotta weigh your options carefully. That's the thing about this modern era. You gotta always, make predictions like what you think will unfold in, like, I don't know, a decade from now. I do think the next 10 to 20 years will be a painful one, unfortunately, and has a lot to do with the technical elites manufacturing global crises. They want to break down society and then restructure it. Yeah, they definitely want to do that. For like greater automation or smart cities or crap like that. But they probably want to.
I was told. Yeah, I've heard the word efficiency. It's not efficient enough. The old world must die so that way the new one can be reborn in the flames of the phoenix.
Exactly, and I mean, pretty much they tell us that straight into our face with the Great Reset. The World Economic Forum, Great Reset, or also Yuval Harari's Human 2.0. More people need to be talking about this stuff, but I feel like more people are being censored now. Like what happened to Chad Hack? He was pretty much censored, and now his channel is gone, which is unfortunate. I did watch a lot of his videos.
My channel is finally shadow banned. The last few in-your-face Illuminati videos that I've been making, trying to wake people up, like my shadow banned. Like when I would get my views were popping up, and now sometimes I'll get 20 or 30 views out of nowhere, and it doesn't even register my views, and some of my comments are disappearing. So I think YouTube has finally caught on. Like at first, my music was just stuff I wanted to make to get out lyrics that I've had in my head for years, but then it started turning into like, okay, let me make some psyoping videos, and I think YouTube has finally caught on because my views are not counting. So, they almost automatically banned me on TikTok. On my TikTok account, I already had gotten an account warning within my first few videos. So it's weird how they're doing this censoring stuff. Like they'll censor people who automatically talk about it, but yet they didn't even bother striking any of the videos I make. So make it make sense. You can sit right here and put the exact same symbols and imagery and change the words and make it into a music video, and it's like the algorithm, the AI doesn't understand. I haven't gotten a strike, I haven't gotten a warning, so just I don't know. But then again, I don't think they really care about the information getting out, because how can they care? They sit here and put the shit in your face in all different types of ways and media. So I mean, maybe it's just another divide and conquer and keep you in a fucking insane asylum box.
Yeah, that is a big problem that's growing, shadow banning and, reducing people's reach, and, also maybe sometimes just shutting down the whole channel. I feel like YouTube is not really that great,
Well,
maybe.
YouTube is rigged too, dude. When what's weird is I don't have enough subscriptions, but because I've gotten enough views, I can pay to promote my videos now. And if I was rich, I can tell you right now, I could put $1,000 right now in promoting my videos, and it would reach about 500,000 people. So now it's starting to make sense why, these people who are pushing this retarded ass content that literally has no value is sitting here getting, 80,
Right.
90, 100,000 views.
No, that's a good point, because here's the thing is like think about it like this, dude. Like, I've seen videos that get 500,000, a million views, and they only have 1,000 subscribers, right? So how are all these people that aren't really well known outside of YouTube getting 500,000 subscribers in 6 months or whatever the fuck? It's like, it doesn't make any sense, dude. Like, it's just not. It's just, there's no way that's real. I mean, like, personally, like, I do subscribe to almost every video I watch. I try to subscribe to the channel, unless I just really hate the video. But I don't think there's many people who do that. I'm doing it for a reason. I'm trying to see, like, why, like, who are the people that I'm being funneled to watch, right?
It's the same thing with my videos. It's the same thing with my videos. Some of these weird videos where it's like it's my own psyoping, like I'm telling you things that I know that most people don't, like with the red and blue video. That thing got a shit ton of views out of nowhere, and that was a video I didn't expect to go anywhere. So I can tell you that most of these videos of mine that are getting like 60, 70, 80 views, I can tell you I never have gotten that many views on a video from my own subscribers. So yeah, they're definitely funneling it to certain people.
Well, like, I'm sure Machine probably has like 500,000 views on his channel. I'm pretty sure that's a conservative thing.
Probably.
If you go check, I'm pretty. I have 110,000. It took me 2.5, 3 years to get that, right? And that was mostly from shorts of just like, and I worked hard on my shorts, so I'm not like trying to take away from that, but it's like, I would much rather have like way less than half of that on the videos I originally made, because I made those for a reason. You know what I mean? The shorts I made to like get people to actually come and like subscribe to my channel, which didn't work. But so it's like, okay, so like what's the key here, right? Like, maybe if I showed my face and I just did like a bunch of nonsense content about like, whatever people, or I see, that's the thing is like, I think that what you said about the advertising is true. Like, I think unless you're willing to quote unquote invest, so it's not enough that you invest your time so that YouTube can make money and do all this. And I think, and obviously we know that Google and stuff like this is like, a front company for the government. But I'm just saying, from a normal business standpoint, there's no way that you would have all this free storage for 6 billion people to like upload their videos unless there was something other than money involved, right? So I think that's really. So because it's just too much. It's just too much power and data. Like the numbers don't make sense.
Thank you. Please do tell me, where are they storing the unbelievable amount of storage that it would take for the amount of people who are uploading videos every single day? Thank you. Oh, maybe that takes a quantum computer. Maybe that's also what the AI has been using to study, how the AI works, especially with the video generation. Uh-oh.
Well, a part of this also is like, I'll tell you like how fast YouTube works on just a Wi-Fi connection, and I'm just using that as an example. It doesn't make any sense. Like, it's almost instantaneous for almost any video in the world, like you said. So it's like, where is this stuff being stored, right? and then like it's because like okay, the I guess you can go around the Earth 7 times in a second at the speed of light or something, right? Supposedly, allegedly, But so I'm just saying it's like where like like you said, like what's the storage, what's the transmission process like it's going on all these undersea cables allegedly, and
You beat me
then it
to it.
goes through it's like I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible, but like it is pretty miraculous, I have to say, that like you know what I mean, like I can literally be like on top of a mountain right now, right, with no direct line of sight to like a cell. I mean, there must be some direct line of sight to a cell tower, but still, like I can basically like be calling you guys from the top of the mountain. So it's like that's pretty incredible, right? And then somebody in like Indonesia could be picking up the phone, listening to me with like a 0.25 second delay or something. So I don't know. That's pretty interesting,
Well, it's like they say, Satan is God of the airwaves, radio waves. So, I mean, it's the same thing like when you have if you have an electric guitar and an amp, in certain days, you can pick up a radio. I can't tell you how many times my dad and me has sat here and heard a radio station coming in through his amp. So, I mean, if people really honestly heard the chatter that's in your airwaves that you can't pick up on a human frequency, it'd probably drive us insane. So, that really goes to say, do you want to believe the Truman Show? And, look, I'm not saying that to some extent up in the atmosphere that we don't start to lose what we perceive to be as gravity. That's what I honestly believe. I think that when you start to go up to a certain distance, what we consider gravity starts to fade away and the inverse starts to happen. And I'm just going to sit here and say that, I've seen things in the night sky. I've looked through telescopes. I've never actually seen the ISS. I've never actually seen a telescope through, and I've seen videos and I've seen and heard testimonies of people who claim to see that stuff actually up there. But I'm going to tell you, you're not going to sit here and convince me. First of all, a majority of people don't realize that when you go and you see them animated images of all the satellites that they claim that's up there in the sky, right? They claim that the sky is so littered with satellites that it looks like the Earth has a landmine field floating around it. But yet, when you sit here and you look up at the night sky, even with the naked eye, even if you're out there in the middle of the country where you can see the stars, you're not seeing this thousands. And they sit here and say, well, there's no way you can see it with the naked eye. Bullshit. How many times have they sit here and claim that you can see the ISS with the naked eye with the right conditions? So, to sit here and believe that, all right, I live in a city of around 100,000 people. So imagine 100,000 people all using the same satellite, but yet this same satellite is also supposed to control communications for emergency services, certain military channels, and depending on the satellite, literal weapon satellites that have nuclear codes in them, all types of things that, like in, the day the Earth stood still, oh, he just hacked our satellite. So, to sit here and convince me that we have these, technological wonders floating around in the air and that their main job is to just direct communications. I mean, it's like when you go and you see that video of what was, I think it was Richard Nixon. Was it Nixon that was talking, or was it Reagan? Whatever, which one was sitting there talking to the astronauts while they were in space on a fucking landline. The same technology that civilian uses isn't the same of what our top military people use. Exactly. So again, that's the point. The technology that I saw 3 years ago confirmed years and years and years and years of a conspiracy that, for the longest time, I just played off as, a bunch of rich people playing around in their very rich toys. And whether or not that's really what it was, all it did was just confirm me that if that technology is what was capable of doing just the simple thing it was doing when it was flying by, then I can't imagine the type of applications that they have in genetics, anything. It doesn't matter what it is. So, I mean, if they're able to do that, what are they doing in your food? What are they doing to your air? Well, I can tell you that on a good hot day when I go outside, that by 1 o'clock in the fucking afternoon, my sky is so covered in the fucking chemicals that the entire city smells like a burnt tire and hospital chemicals. and then you start to get a stomach ache and you start to feel queasy, and then you have to tell your child, cover your fucking face and let's go inside from the park, because it's done spread so much in the sky that it's created a fog over the fucking park. But we just go about our lives LARPing about it. So I mean, I don't know what to tell you other than you want to be like Mila Jokovic in that movie, what is it, Breathe or whatever, where she has to walk around on the earth that has no atmosphere. I mean,
Yeah, let me respond to the Browns boy, and also I'm gonna cover something Jack asked too. But first, let me answer this for Browns boy. Information or like Akashic records or something like that, maybe it exists. Yeah, that's metaphysics. It's possible, but in the physical hard drives, it's more like, I don't think it really weighs that much more, but in terms of the unique ontological status of information, that's a difficult question. Yeah, I'm not sure though, but that is an interesting line of thought to follow. But anyway, now I'm going to do what Neurojack asked, because it looked interesting. He gave me this interesting video from Jim Bob about whether or not naturalism or materialism is coherent. I don't think he's coherent, but we're gonna watch like the opening statement.
Yeah, he's been making a couple of these. Yeah, he made one that said that says that evolution doesn't make sense. So yeah, it would be very helpful if you respond to these videos.
Well, and this one is a very particular interest. So which we don't have to discuss here. We probably shouldn't, but it's a very particularly interesting thing. I actually haven't seen it, but like the person that is, we'll just watch.
Yeah, I'll just show it. Let me see here. Share. So you can see it, right? Okay.
We can't see it.
Not
we
yet.
Can't see it.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah.
I'm legally blind.
That's because I haven't put it here. Okay, now you can see it. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Look at that! Look at that pretty noose hanging up there.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I stumped the guy with philosophy of mind at the end of the debate.
Yeah.
And you can skip the intro a little bit. I don't know. It's probably like 30 seconds in or something. They just usually jump right into the opening statement. So
yeah, this might be copyright stuff, so we have to skip this intro.
Oh yeah.
Have him.
Oh, whoops.
Let's listen to Shekel Boy.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Crucible. I'm your host, Andrew Wilson. Just saw some of you at the other channel earlier, I think, but that's okay. We're just going to pretend like you're just now getting here. Tonight, we have a great debate for you between Staxiums and Jim Bob. I did engage with Staxiums on a panel one night, and I actually kind of liked the guy. I thought he did pretty well. So I was happy to have him come on to the Crucible. I'd been looking for a topic that I thought he might want to engage in, and I think we found a pretty good one. So he's a first-time member to the Crucible. That's okay. You can still throw tomatoes at him. What does he care? What's he going to do about it, right? He's on our turf. I'm kidding. Obviously, I'm joking. You can also throw tomatoes at Jim Bob if you want to get banned. So that's basically the rules. If there's totally I'm kidding again. This is going to be a good debate. I'm looking forward to it. Before we get into that, make sure that you like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube shit that you're supposed to do.
That's right. Do as you're told by your masters.
What else? Oh yeah. Become a channel member. Yeah, just do all that fucking YouTube
That's right.
shit.
Get more money to the
Also,
Shekel Man.
make sure that you watch the videos on this channel. That way we can get the watch time up. That way I can monetize this channel too. Still waiting for the strikes to fall off on the other channel, which sucks. But anyway, it's going to be a good debate. I'm looking forward to it.
See, Goys, you're just one of us. Come on now.
Debaters, and we're going to get moving.
Yeah, it's another musical interlude here.
He likes this guy, by the way. It's very interesting. Go ahead. You can skip ahead a little bit. I think it's going to be very.
Actually, this one a little bit before.
This might be very lengthy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's lengthy.
I just want to see the opening statements because I haven't seen this yet, and there's a particular reason why this is interesting. But
back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Crucible. let me readjust the boxes here real quick. We have Jim Bob to the right and Staxiums to the left. Staxiums, first time on the Crucible. We appreciate you coming very much. Why don't you take a second, introduce yourself, tell everybody a little bit about yourself very briefly, and then where they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. Staxiums, basically everywhere. Most of my audience is from TikTok, where I make short form TikTok videos, mostly about philosophy, gaming, and social democracy. I'm a pretty raging liberal, and I support Biden 100%. A little bit of an atheist. Yeah, excited to have this debate.
Raging.
I appreciate that very much. Jim Bob, same thing
Hi.
to you.
Hi, I'm
Go
Jim
ahead.
Bob. I'm a political cartoonist made by Jim Bob. Is most my handles everywhere, IG and everywhere else. I do commentary, humor, and all this other stuff, and I like to debate some important topics. This being one of them.
Okay. And Staxiums, you may not know this, but one of the very few, like peeves I have is if there's typing in the background while somebody's talking, right? Super annoying. I know that you know this. I'm not picking on you, but I am just kind of telling you, let's avoid that as we kind of go through the debate. If you need to type or something like that, make sure
I'll
you
mute
mute
myself.
yourself.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay. Appreciate that very much. The debate topic
Sounds like
tonight
Hank.
is on naturalism, materialism. We're going to let Staxiums open. I understand that, this could go a lot of different ways. Yeah,
Man,
you
this
have 7
Staxiums
minutes on
guy
the
looks
clock,
so
Staxiums,
familiar.
when
I don't know
you're
where I've
ready.
seen this guy before. Wow.
I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
he does look
So,
familiar too.
I don't know if I have 7 minutes of material prepared. Hope that's okay. But I did. I am kind of a bit of a
Oh, I should go
raging
Google
atheist.
that
I grew up
guy.
Christian, Mormon specifically, and found the Bible a little incoherent. I met a lot of spiritualists, and I didn't really find their arguments any more compelling. I'm not sure what direction my opponent will take this conversation. But more than likely, he will probably take an argument similar to the so-called God of the Gaps, an argument where he'll show that God or some supernatural force is allowing for all of the unexplainable behavior in the universe. And because we are learning and exploring so much more of the universe, what you have to contend with is that you are believing in a God or supernatural forces that are growing smaller and smaller every day. That personally is not a God I would contend with. I don't know.
That makes
I
no sense,
definitely
but okay.
feel like I am taking the defensive position here. I do feel like my opponent has the burden of proof to prove that there is some sort of supernatural entity or just God in general. Maybe
Sounds like I can't make
I can't
faith on my
prove
own.
that an apple is circling around the moon, just like I can't prove a lot of these supernatural behaviors exist.
No, but I believe NASA.
Yeah, I think that these arguments are definitionally rely on sort of incoherent positions. And I think I'll just give up my time and let Jim Bob take the floor.
Go.
Yeah, I just want to be clear with you though, Staxiums. You do have 6 more minutes if you want to say anything else for your opening. You are welcome to do that.
No, I think I'm okay. I'll go ahead and respond to Jim Bob and just I'll let him take the 7 minutes and then we can engage.
Okay, Jim Bob, go ahead whenever you're ready. 7
Okay.
minutes on the clock.
So the debate is naturalism, materialism coherent? The answer to that question could be pursued by an atheist. So the debate tonight is not does God exist? It's not is the God that Jim Bob prays to, does he exist? The question is naturalism coherent? So the way in which we look at a worldview like naturalism, materialism, whether it's coherent, is to look at the 3 pillars of a worldview, the constituents being epistemology, metaphysics, and ethics or morality, and whether or not the worldview itself can account for it. Now, if materialism or naturalism means that everything is, in fact, the only thing there is matter, that's one position. I'm not sure my opponent takes that, but we'll hear where exactly he stands. My position tonight is that naturalism, materialism can't even account for knowledge. So without even, we can get into the metaphysics and I don't even think we'll end up on morality, but it's possible. I don't even think naturalism can account for epistemology, and if it can account for epistemology and knowledge, and if there's any example of something the naturalist appeals to that is not in fact matter, the position is pretty much over, and so that'll be my task tonight. That's all I have.
Gentlemen, I appreciate very much the opening statements. I think that maybe it's a good thing that the opening statements weren't too long so that both of you guys can explore your various positions. Before we get into that, make sure all of you out in chat land, go to Dono Chat if you want to send in a super chat for either of the debaters tonight. I don't know if it's linked. Actually, I better check and make sure it's linked at the top, but that's where you will be able to send in a super chat.
Mm-hmm.
It is there. Okay. Usually, you know, you could just send it in on YouTube, but we're on the backup channel. So you can send in through Dono Chat. Of course, we'll be reading those off. We will be taking callers tonight after this debate is done. That way you can put both of these gentlemen to the question. You can hop into the Discord if you want to do that. So without further ado, the floor is open.
That's right, because it's all about the shekels. It's all about the shekels.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go. Go ahead.
Yeah. So essentially, your argument is that matter doesn't account for knowledge. I do think that generally, whenever you structure some sort of philosophical groundwork, you have to take some axioms, just sort of you have to start with some sort of groundwork. And I generally agree with Descartes, who generally took knowledge and existence sort of as axiomatic, like that. Basically,
Descartes
somewhere. And if we keep drilling this
always
down
Descartes.
underground, we just kind of drive ourselves crazy. So I don't know the issue with taking knowledge and existence as axiomatic. I don't know why that's an incoherent position. I can't. Is he muted? I think he's muted. I can't hear.
Technical
Sorry,
difficulties.
yeah. Is that better? I think
I can hear you now.
And now
Sorry.
Andrew's muted.
Okay, I can hear Jim and not Andrew.
Because knowledge itself, right, is not found in matter. So it's not identical to matter. There's nothing material about knowledge. There's nothing, and that's not even the only thing. Knowledge can't even be accounted for from the materialistic position because the very process of coming to knowledge or even making a proposition would just be the result of mechanics, biological, chemical, laws of physics, laws of nature. It would just be a consequence. So this concept of like thinking or coming to knowledge or evaluating truth claims or doing anything
Avian and Machine, feel free to jump in anytime. I'm
of dominoes falling.
Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah, essentially.
yeah, I'm not sure what's there to bite on yet, but I was just saying, like,
No, I mean,
like for me, like the first red flag is like Descartes and axiomatic is like, whoa, okay, so that's kind of a weird argument.
I actually agree with Jim Bob that knowledge has a kind of immaterial aspect.
Right.
So I agree with him there, and I actually, I don't think Descartes was very good to bring up, like because Descartes is kind of like a dualist, or
Right.
yeah, because of the interaction problem. You know what I mean? Like that's the common thing. But yeah, I lean towards like a kind of panpsychism, neo-Lamarckian. I'm a neo-Lamarckian, which means a lot of materialists would hate me too, and as a consequence, I also am open to the idea of God more so like some transcendence, something that emanates or like pulses or something. Yeah, like a kind of panentheist or something. But yeah, we can continue watching the video. But so far, I'm more on Jim Bob's side, you know, because I'm not a materialist at all. You know, I'm not a materialist. Like, you know, like
Jim Bob.
Well, I'm sure that dude's age plays a lot into it. If I'm being honest, you know, I can be a materialistic person. You know, who doesn't want to have nice things in life and be able to live peacefully and, you know, live comfortably? But there's a big difference between the younger generation and stuff. So.
No, the materialism in this sense means that everything is physical. Like it's like pinballs hitting each other.
I meant that too. I mean, yeah. I meant materialistic, like everything physical, flesh, like the need to buy, that kind of stuff. I mean, materialism in the sense is physical.
The need to seed.
That too, yeah.
Yeah. Let me also say, Buddhism is, or at least the school I follow, is incompatible with materialism, and there are a lot of in my SANCO, there were a lot of people going around pushing materialism. Like stuff like storehouse consciousness it's kind of like the soul because it's not 100% material. The storehouse consciousness, it has an immaterial aspect. The Linkavatra Sutra talks about that, but yeah, we can continue the video.
Similar to the bubbling of, say, a hot springs in northern Colorado. It's just a happening. So, no, you couldn't take Descartes because if you're holding a materialist position or a naturalist position, you would actually have to find and isolate something called knowledge in the physical. If you appeal to anything that's not physical to then ascertain some truth or examine the external world, you're already outside of the naturalist paradigm. And that doesn't even we're not even talking about the fact that there's a mind in play that's examining things, which isn't also not found in nature.
A mind that's examining things isn't found in nature.
No.
Maybe I don't have a hard knowledge enough on philosophy to fully like understand your positions, but you're essentially saying that the mind and perceiving things in itself, like what do you account? I'm curious what you account for this outside of nature.
Well, what I account for is irrelevant to whether materialism and naturalism can account for the mind, which is the thing that's spotlighted today. We can get into that later, but I really want to cross-examine your position, which is to say, well, naturalism and materialism is coherent. Well, if coherent means consistent, if coherent means it accounts for knowledge, the existence of knowledge, the ability to apprehend and hold knowledge, the ability to hold two claims simultaneously together and then examine which one is more coherent, then naturalism can't do it. Because, again, materialism or naturalism, basically the consequence of it is that everything we're doing right now, the sounds coming out of our mouth, are merely the symptoms of strict mechanistic processes. And so if you say opinion A and I say opinion B, and then we leave it to some other person, we're calling a person, which in naturalism would just be a machine. If we leave it to them to examine the two propositions, the two opinions, their opinion is no different than ours. It's just a consequence of matter in motion. It's a consequence of strict biological laws of nature, laws of physics, chemical reactions. And I don't think a materialist or a naturalist can account for, let's just give can we give ourselves a mind, a thinking mind, a self, a brain, something that's not identical to just brain matter, that examines things and has access to knowledge, and the materialist and the naturalist can't do it.
I don't know. I sorry, and maybe we've just got the wrong person for this debate essentially. But I want to apologize. Just to begin with, but. From my understanding, I don't understand why it's so incoherent for us to basically just say that we have memories that are basically explained by neurons that are passing information through each other, and we make logical arguments based off of axioms that we pre-exist. I don't understand why we have to appeal to some sort of hidden third party source. I don't see a gap in knowledge. I don't see a yeah. Go ahead.
I want to clarify something.
Sure.
You're describing neurons and knowledge of neurons, right? Memories.
You use knowledge, and I don't know if I fully understand what you're referring to.
Do you have knowledge of something called a memory? Do we know what the concept of a memory is together? All three of us probably?
Sure,
right.
Sure.
So we have knowledge of what we call a memory, what we're referring to as a memory. What I'm saying is, as you describe the physical things that make up a memory, neurons firing, some crinkles in the brain, storing information that can be somehow gathered by a processing tool called the brain. What I'm saying is that even your assessment of that would also just be physical things happening. So us talking right now, us talking right now would just be the outcome of inputs. Like input, output. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So I want to know from your position, how is us talking and thinking and trying to figure out the truth of the matter, right? Using philosophy, using knowledge, using information, using the laws of logic, and these things. How is it different than water coming out of the ground?
How is it different? I don't
Yeah.
know if it is different. I feel like
So
if
that-
we took, go ahead.
I'm saying if it's not different,
Okay.
then we don't have access to knowledge, and that therefore materialism is incoherent.
Walk me
Why?
through that. So
Okay, okay.
because you feel like I think that basically it's just inputs and outputs, right?
Mhm.
That we all of my behaviors are explained by some sort of predetermined
Determinism.
base.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
100%.
Sure.
That you feel like knowledge can't be attained.
Right. Why? Because any conclusion we come to would be determined by a mechanistic law-based system. So how would we separate what's the correct assessment of reality or philosophy or any description of reality or anything we come to and think of if it's no different than a bubbling water coming out of the ground? Then whatever you come to, right, in this debate, whatever I say, whatever you say, would be just determined from the inputs and the mechanism at work. How
I mean,
could it ever be not that?
I
That's
kinda
weird.
agree with that. Sure.
That's a little
So,
weird.
but you agreeing with that would just be caused by mechanisms. You understand?
Sure. Sure.
So you can't come to knowledge because the third person, let's say Andrew,
What do you
wasn't
mean
the
it's weird?
moderator and he was a listener
What do you
who was
mean?
going to decide.
I like to ask myself philosophical questions. You know, sometimes when I sit up late at night and I'm talking to God and to myself, just trying to get my bearings.
You mean
and,
you like to neurojack off? Okay,
yeah,
continue.
buddy. I've often found I've asked myself before, what is it that really makes us human? What is it about a person that, you know, gives you a personality? What is it that makes you you? You know, why aren't we really just, you know, apes out in the trees throwing shit at each other and beating each other in the heads with rocks? What is it about us that makes us, you know, paint? What is it about us that makes us sing, to make us dance, to make beautiful clothing, you know, to do all the stuff that what we consider makes us human, that you know, they like to say that separates us from the animals, like they say about in John Wick. What separates us from the rules, Mr. Wick? I mean, what separates us from the animals is the rules. So I mean, I think it's funny that, like, you know, what he's talking about is something that I've been philosophically asking myself for a while, which is what really makes me who I am. Is it, you know, the people you choose to love? Is it the hobbies you choose to have? You know, it's just it to me it sounds, you know, I don't know Jim Bob on a personal level, but I mean, the dude, it does sound like he really is being legit, at least in this interaction, of trying to get the guy to understand that, like,
Well,
there's a lot of people, and no offense to you, Avian, you can believe in evolution or whatever, but, you know, I know some people who believe in evolution and believe in God. I'm on the fence about it. I think it can be and or. I don't think evolution completely negates God at all, but
let me say something though. The thing is, you have to understand, evolution has different theories. I don't support modern synthesis or extended synthesis. I am a neo-Lamarckian, and you know, throughout history, neo-Lamarckians were more likely to believe in God. Okay, there's a problem with evolutionary biology that I dealt with in the beginning. They don't believe in agency. They don't believe in biological agency. They don't believe in that life has any qualia or mentality. You know, they reduce everything to natural selection, and I'm against
that. Yeah, I know. That's why they're telling all the moms and stuff that their babies are just a clump of cells and parasites.
Yeah,
Well, think about it. Think about it in the terms of in Jurassic Park. He said, "Life finds a way." Just those 3 words, or just those 4 words, basically indicate like willpower or like agency. Finds is something that you do with agency. It's not something that just happens without agency, right? So it's saying life will, you know, adapt essentially, but it's like it gives it like a maybe not personhood, but something.
Yeah, let's just go make a bunch of fucking dinosaurs and not care whether or not they might evolve one day to actually become the apex predator.
Also, I am agnostic about a special intervention, you know, like, because symbolic reference is very unique. You know, we don't see any other, you know, the swastika was not originally a bad symbol. You know, it was everywhere in the ancient world. You know, the swastika was meant to represent something that can only be explained by other symbols. You know, and the swastika, no other creature makes anything like a swastika or like a dharma wheel or like a cross, you know, because those are symbols that are meant to represent something more than what we see in the natural world, you know what I mean? And that kind of capacity even Jesper Hoffmeyer, whose book I read, Biosemiotics, he says that capacity is very, it's not easy. Like if you were to study the natural world, you cannot really predict something like that could emerge. So it's a difficult question, like how did symbolic reference emerge? But anyway, I wanted to address something else. Right now they're talking about what's called the explanatory gap, which is like how you have like input and output, and yet, people aren't zombies. We have qualia, we have internal mental life. Like the scientific worldview cannot explain it. And you have people like Patricia claim that your mind is an illusion. It's just created.
Well, don't worry. You're just one puff of fentanyl away from being a zombie. So don't worry.
Or bath salts.
Yeah, exactly. So those are some things exploring. This is an interesting video so far. We can keep watching it, or if people are tired, I can continue it some other time. We'll watch it a little bit more, I guess.
I just wanted to say that that's one of the reasons why I like Marvin the Martian so much. One of my favorite quotes by him is, "I think man is the most interesting insect on planet Earth." Basically, they think that they're a rational being. How absurd! So, I don't know, y'all. Go ahead and play the video. It's just every day it's something.
Between us, which one he thought was right
Sure.
about the world. Even his assessment would be determined. Therefore, it's endless, right? It's
Yes.
endless, so you could never come to knowledge because there's no independent viewer or appraiser.
I think that you're presupposing that we understand, like that you are. I think you're defining knowledge, and I don't know if I fully grasp your particular definition, because generally what I would agree with all of your assessments that essentially all of my behaviors could be explained by some sort of past indicators or a chain of dominoes. 100% determinism. Yeah.
Not
and that we don't
explained.
necessarily have free will.
No,
Yeah.
not explained though, because explained would assume we have knowledge. It would just be determined. It would just be, it is, right? So not explained, actually. It would just be determined. So an explanation, do you understand the consequence of the position is that an explanation post hoc of what is occurring would also just be determined.
I feel like you lost me. And I
If
apologize.
thinking-
I don't have a hard background in
It's okay.
philosophy.
If
Yeah.
thinking itself and coming to conclusions and appraising
Hold
statements.
on, just wait 1 second, sorry.
And trying to understand.
So what's interesting is this guy doesn't have a hard background in philosophy, or doesn't even care, basically. But yet he's got millions of people watching him about philosophy.
Yeah, what a weird thing to say. Like, like at this time there wasn't that many people watching the Crucible, right? But what's weird still is that the title of the debate literally says, "Is naturalism / materialism coherent?" So it's literally a philosophical topic, right? And it's rife with, like definitions, like right there in the title of the debate. So the fact that he just said, "Oh, well, I'm not really here to debate philosophy," well, you're here to debate naturalism. So how are you going to avoid philosophy, right? Like just exactly what was he going to bring to the, debate, right? It's really just an odd thing to say. And of course, it's 19 minutes into the debate, right? I mean, they should have called the whole thing off at this point.
Well, I mean, maybe sometimes they just need filler content, just bring a random idiot, that doesn't really know anything off the internet, make content out of them like we know people do us.
Yeah. Yeah. Is naturalism coherent? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't
Well,
really know about
but
philosophy.
what's special about this one is that Wilson went out of his way to be extra nice and cozy with this guy. Like, oh, I like this guy. He's very nice.
Yep. That was the first indicator. How often does he ever admit he likes someone? No, you got to keep him entertained, right? Bread and circuses.
Yeah, I actually did watch this debate a little bit, but like halfway and like some other stuff. The Staxian guy doesn't really.
Compare that to what they say now, where they say that like liberalism is literally like death, and they're trying to kill us all, and blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? So it's like, what a change in a very short amount of time. In rhetoric,
Yeah.
But yet they still debate these guys like they're friends with them and have a beer with them afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Also, I want to say that, when you get deep into like so-called science, they don't actually have a cogent definition of the physical, like quantum physics. The definition of physical kind of breaks down on the quantum level. For example, Federico Fagin, he's an idealist or a panpsychist. He believes that mind is in the quantum field, so mind is like universal to Federico Fagin. I was talking about him a little bit. Like he thinks the vibrational quantum field have a degree of consciousness, and I wanted to say that the physical, like, there's no cogent way to frame the physical at all, because we don't really have a definition of the physical since we abandoned contact mechanics with Newton. So the question, like, is this the brain? Is this the table? Is it physical? Doesn't make sense since we don't really have a cogent definition of physical. They're just different parts of the world that we try to make sense of, But the thing is that the mind or the experience, it cannot really be explained by physical quantitative facts. If you experience red, like there's a experience, like in my other video I talk about, about Mary's thought room experience. Like Mary is inside a room that's monochrome, black and white. She learns all the neurochemical facts about the color experience red. She reads about it endlessly, but when she finally leaves that room and sees red for the first time, she gains knowledge of red that goes beyond the mere brute physical facts, the mechanism, I'm trying to say. And, the thing is, when you go down into quantum physics too, it's all probabilities and it's all like vibrational quantum fields. So it's not really like, pure mechanism, because you're dealing with like stuff like, that kind of breaks down your basic mechanistic understanding, So I don't think this guy has a strong scientific background either. Because first you have to define what is physical, and that's kind of hard to do also. Like, what is physical? But the thing is, the mind, the experience, like, how does it relate to the external world? It's a very tough question.
I think that's what the movie. I think that's what the movie Inception was trying to bring to the masses. A lot of people just see that movie as about dreams, but when you really go and study that movie, boy, it even made me re-examine what some of my dreams mean. So. Because I can tell you, in some of the dreams that I've been put into,
I'll give you guys
sounds right.
Let me give you an example. I had a dream the other day, and I had a lot of weird dreams the past few days. Probably a little sick or something, but so let me tell you guys this one. So I went to like Hawaii or something, and then like somebody I know, kind of like not too well, was there, and they're like, oh, this is their property, we didn't know. And then it's like this giant cliff that's like literally like 100 stories up. So like they thought they got beachfront property, and it was, but like it's like literally like 1,000 feet down to the beach. You know what I'm saying? Like straight down. And this is very like extremely vivid, by the way. Like and you can literally see like in both directions, And anyways, then they go back and say like, oh, here's our little property, and you can stay the night. And so I went in the house, and it's like it's like a normal house, like it's very like realistic, And then I was kind of getting weirded out, and then they're like, oh, you can sleep out here on this like kind of like a porch deck thing, you know what I mean? And then when I went out there, I saw this like well, it looked like a monkey human hybrid thing. And then there was like a spider that jumped on it and started like cutting its head off. And then the person's like over there like just rearranging all his guns and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is very uncomfortable. So I don't know. So if someone wants to interpret that dream, tell me what that means.
Monkey human hybrid thing. Was it standing in a particular stance? Was it like?
Oh, it was on top of a shed, and then the spider thing was like very like hairy and thorny and like very fast moving, like something out of a nightmare, basically, literally. So yeah, it's pretty intense. And just the fact that nobody else was reacting really freaked me out, because they were like, "Oh, you can still stay here." I was like, "No, I'm gonna like drive 50 miles away from this place and sleep there."
A beautiful scene, but with scary aesthetic. I mean, that could be many things. I mean, a lot of my dreams, most of my dreams that were nightmares. I mean, the theme always usually centered around a personal message. It was never, you're just thrown into randomness and you're just randomly watching events happening. So I mean, the monkey can represent many things. The spider is definitely something violent, or what most spiders represent, a silent assassin in the corner. So I mean, it could mean a lot of things. It could be a personal thing in your own life with your own family. It could be you have to be careful when you try to interpret your own dreams. I don't try to push off my dreams when I have them, but when you're constantly having end of the world dreams where you're watching the world break open and lava pour out of the ground, and the sun turn into black sackcloth, and all this other horrible end of the world stuff, you get to the point where you're just like, okay, it's there. But I mean, dreams are very strange. I haven't had a good dream in a very, very, very long time. So I mean, is it a product of what I've consumed, or is it God who just sends you messages every once in a while to warn you? I mean, it could be a lot of things. I mean,
let me also say something. So I would agree with Jim Bob that the empirical sciences currently doesn't know like how informational content magically arises from physical systems, or whether like how it relates to it ontologically. That's more of a question for philosophy. So let me tell you something interesting. Schrödinger, one of the best quantum physicists, he was an idealist. He thought that the mind was the basis of reality, like pure awareness. Or you have Federico Fagin, who was like Fagini. He's like one of the best creators of the computer, Federico Fagini. Yeah, I know that's a weird name, because it's an Italian name. It's kind of funny, but yeah, he argues that the mind is more special and stuff. But yeah, basically, Jen Bob is right about the knowledge and information not being fully explicable by reference to the physical constituents of parts. So I agree with him there so far. So that's all I want to add.
Right, he's pretty much a dualist. So he agrees with Staxium's that the physical matter is dead. Right, like it has nothing.
The wood is dead.
Yeah, so that's a key distinction as well. He thinks obviously he thinks that knowledge is coming from the mind of God. So
well, where do you get dualism from? Because that's very interesting. Like I've never heard anybody call Jim Bob a dualist. So
well, it's like
what do you mean by that?
He explained it through Descartes, right? This is the example he used, right?
So you're saying Jim Bob agrees with the dualism? And just just reiterate that. I want to make sure I understand that position, so I can.
Well, he agrees with dualism in the sense that he doesn't think that mind just comes from matter, right? He thinks it's separate, right? So he doesn't think that mind exists in the physical world either, right? So this is the thing, is that he thinks mind exists, through the mind of God, through intelligent beings that have rational minds, right? Like humans.
So is that what Morpheus was getting at with Neo when he woke up and he busted his mouth in the Matrix? The mind, the body can't live without the mind.
Yeah. Like for example, Jim Bob does not believe that animals have free will, right? I'm pretty sure, right? So
I lean more towards kind of a hybrid.
I would say a programmed.
Panpsychism and idealism. Panpsychism and idealism. Right. I think mind is pervasive, and it increases in degrees. But I have to look into Federico Fagin, because I think his idea of the quantum vibrational fields has some truth to it also, basically. So mind is more ubiquitous in my view, but it matters and changes in degrees, basically. That's kind of like David Skrbina also, basically.
Well, you see, I think that's another lie that they're pushing a lot of the media, where they want to sit here and make it seem like the brain is really just somewhat maybe advanced organism. But, in reality, we all know that the mind is definitely a lot more on the surface level than, even in some of the studies that they've released. I mean, I've been in a few sleep studies because of my sleep paralysis and stuff. And I mean, they told me that a lot of my scans weren't normal. They didn't really give me a diagnosis. I don't have no pressure on the brain. I don't have no tumors, but yet they can't sit here and diagnose, well, maybe you get too worked up about your anxiety. That does not explain the demonic fucking things that happen to me when I have these attacks. So The
Yeah,
mind is
and
definitely a lot more powerful than what they, and that's why they put chemicals in your stuff to fucking turn off your frequencies. But
So,
yeah,
but what you described in dualism, isn't that like a Kabbalistic thing? Sorry to interrupt you, maybe.
well, Bernardo Castrap has some interesting things to say about that. Also, he actually talks about how psychedelics actually deactivate more parts of your brain than it actually makes it more active. So, in a way, that when you take psychedelics, you're kind of like exposed to the universal mind and without any filtration or
Right.
something.
Right, and
Like
that's
that.
and that's
well,
what
that.
and
Oh,
that's
sorry.
what
Go ahead.
Christians believe in, right? They believe in a universal mind type of concept, right? Because it's this sort of universal mind that God used to create the world, right? God created the world through Jesus, right? So to speak, right? So there's in my last discussion with Jim Bob, right? He outlined that there's primary and secondary causes, right? I bluntly asked him, does God control everything in the universe? Right? And he said, well, there's primary and secondary causes, right? I think this spells out dualism.
Yeah, for
Well,
sure.
isn't that Kabbalistic though? I mean, like straight out of Kabbalah, essentially.
I think it's related. Somewhat to Maimonides, right? Because Maimonides was kind of like a dualist in that sense. He believed in a
Also,
universal mind.
can I add something? I think
And
Kabbalah was
that
written around 1200 AD, and they just took a lot of stuff from the Greeks and from the Hebrew, their own tradition, and just mixed it together. So, I don't like the Kabbalah, but I do like the ancient Greeks more, I mean, but the Kabbalah does have a lot of creepy stuff, but they just take a bunch of stuff haphazardly and mixed it together around 1200 AD. I think so.
Well,
and the
Right.
Church of Satan kind of does that too. In some places they like pushing the whole, we know that Satan's not on the same level as God, but we have exalted him on the same level as God because he is the light bearer who told us that God was the asshole. So
Yeah,
just saying.
that's what they
And
do. They just misappropriate stuff, or they appropriate a lot of stuff, and then they like mix it together for their own worldview. So yeah, that's what they do. Yeah.
lots of dualism, lots of black and white, lots of red and blue.
Yeah. What were you trying to say, Neurojack? Sorry for interrupting you. You're trying to say something, right?
I forgot honestly. I mean, I think I'm just trying to get to the point of like, well, I don't know. I think it's very interesting. It's like the way they're arguing is like I agree with.
Maybe
Honestly, I
maybe
agree
they're
with.
trying to initiate them. Maybe they're trying to initiate
Well,
him. Maybe they're trying to like Rick Grimes. They got to ask him the right questions before he can join the group.
well. I mean, we can't get into that right now, but I mean we could, but I don't think we probably shouldn't. But yeah, but I think that what's interesting though is like kind of what.
Have you? What we first talked about was that what your metaphysics are kind of determines how you perceive the world and how you act in the world, right?
We're losing you.
No, I was saying like whatever your metaphysics are, kind of determines your.
Yes, that's right. Metaphysics determine your metaphysical presumptions determine how you interpret empirical findings, and that's the problem with stuff like modern synthesis. They have a radical empiricism where they think that they can figure out all of the metaphysical presumptions by getting more and more data, but that's not how it works, because there are certain unfalsifiable assumptions that undergird or like inform how you interpret and like frame things. The framing depends on your philosophical assumptions. You see what I'm saying? So, that's why a lot of stuff in empirical science feels circular. I mean, like I was talking about near the beginning. But yeah, that's the thing. There are like that's the problem with positivism. Positivism or logical positivism. Quinn wrote a very good essay refuting logical positivism a long time ago. But yeah, going to that stuff will be kind of tedious and long, but yeah, I'm not a positivist. Yeah, logical positivist.
Well, I mean, I'm not really hip to what that means, other than being in the constant idea that everything is going to get better, or things will get worse before they get better. I mean, I'm not one of them people either.
Well, I can I can define it a little bit. Like I'll just keep it simple because this is a philosophy thing, and I have a lot of notes. But basically, logical positivism comes down to verification principle. That statements are meaningful only if they can be verified through direct observation or logical
Right.
proof. However, a key flaw in this approach is that the verification principle itself cannot meet its own criteria for verification, making it
Right.
self-refuting. The verification principle is a meta-statement about how meaning is determined, and testing or proving it would require applying its own criteria to itself. Attempting to justify the verification principle results in circular reasoning. Empirical evidence or logical proof cannot validate a rule that determines what qualifies as evidence or proof. And that was from something I wrote a while back. But yeah, that's kind of like the problem, or at least the intro to the problem of logical positivism. And most materialists, like this man Staxiams, they tend to be positivists without knowing it. So, and I just wanted to mention that that's what logical positivism refers to. And as a consequence, they don't seem to realize that they're dismissing the validity of mind or other stuff like that. The question about God is not something that can be answered with empirical science. And you can, that's the thing. And this is more of a philosophy or theological kind of thing, philosophy. But yeah, that's why I say philosophy is more important than empirical science. Because with philosophy, it really informs and frames how you view things. And that's the thing. The materialist worldview or physicalist worldview is unfalsifiable. Also, is what I'm saying.
Well,
So-
think about it like this. Like, I'm not going to allege that this whole debate is propaganda. I think it's the case, but what would be the purpose of building so much propaganda for 1,000 years or 2,000 years or 3,000 years about philosophy in order to get people to operate their mind in a certain operating system? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I think they promoted positivism and they promoted radical empiricism because they wanted more people to fit into the system. Because this system is materialistic at the end of the day. It's only concerned with the kind of
Yep.
things that Lord
Yep.
talks about. So they don't want people to have a sense of the sacred anymore. I mean, that's the main thing. They want people to see everything as pinballs hitting each other endlessly, and then you have emergent properties from the pinball. That's the way I interpret it. I think that's why they promote it.
They want you to be like Forrest Gump playing ping pong with his ping pong paddle.
That's fucking right. While they shoot you in the ass, you won't get a Presidential Medal of Honor for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's right. Yeah. Well, I can keep playing this, or if people are tired, I can end the stream now. It depends. Like, I can keep going. Like a vote. Like, what do people want? To continue this some other time, or to continue? What is people's preference here?
I mean, I just joined because y'all were going. It's whatever y'all want to do. I'm fine.
I'm ambivalent as well. I mean, I think if you got numbers up, you might as well get them watch hours so we can all drift like Andrew Wilson. I mean, some of us might fall down, but some of us might make it at the end. You know what I mean? So.
Well, I say find who's real and keep them close, like a card of decks to your chest. Not dicks, decks. Cards. Just don't bring in Kevin. Don't bring in.
Great anal allergy. I mean,
There you go.
An analogy. Excuse me, sorry.
Just don't bring in Kevin Spacey, okay? He might be in someone's basement.
Well,
He might drag you into his basement.
I think that we covered a lot of ground. This is a long thing, so we listened to the opening statement. So I think that's good enough. I think people should, if you want to, you can give closing remarks. Or
so who's going live next to keep the audience entertained so we can have the audience around?
Let me recommend TML's channel too, because he's going live at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, around 8 o'clock to 7:30 to 8 o'clock. He's going live. So
who wants to host the next party?
TML is hosting the next party at
No,
7:30.
I mean between now. I mean between now and then. So that way
That's
the
up to you,
audience is
Nero.
ready
If you want to open one up, I think you're
Well,
the only other one here. That,
longer. So I'm just saying I don't know how many people are watching. How many people you got?
So I'm gonna recommend Lord's channel also on the banner. But first, I have to press the right.
Oh, I wouldn't recommend my Goyim channel. It's the worst. It's the worst goy slop out there.
Yes, I recommend TML's channel for more stuff on like Elo and the dangers of the technique that's growing. It's a very good channel. And now I'm going to recommend also Lord's channel, which has some interesting content.
I
too,
appreciate it. It's all from the heart. It's all a psyop.
Yeah, that's right. Let me see here. So I will have to write that. So I'll put it on the chat.
How many,
We like to
How
call
many people
ourselves
you
the
got watching?
anti-psyop unit. There we go.
I like it. How many people you got watching, Avian?
I got 5 people watching. 5 people.
Oh my God, we're getting the big leagues now, guys.
Not enough feds watching. We need more feds.
Yeah, feds, please send your bots and all your peoples in here. I think Brown's Boy should start a channel so we can just start like we all need to like work as a team and keep all the audience sloshing around the OT the OTW and stuff is all it gets the numbers, but I don't know, it's a little bit brain. I tried to watch that yesterday. It was kind of brain damaging. I was like, I couldn't really.
That's right. Give everyone fucking whiplash.
You know what I noticed about that too is like, I can't expect to like every single show every single time, but I am thankful for the presentations that you guys put on, and the space that you guys do share. So I appreciate you guys for that.
And Brown's Boy, no, I'm not being facetious. I do appreciate you because even though I don't get along with you very well, you are very consistent and you do actually, like show a lot of dedication to what is being done here. So I just want to tell you I do appreciate that because that is very.
That's something I wanted to say. Like the small group of people who actually have their heart in it the way that we do. We shouldn't. If we have a bad day where we want to spit at each other, sure, say some words, but we're in this shit together, y'all. We're not the enemies. If your heart's really in it, we're not the enemies.
We're all in Arkham's Asylum together at this point.
That's right. I mean, what happened? Did your balls drop off? Well, now they cut them off or chemically castrate you, but yeah. Love y'all. Just, let's all be at peace.
Yes, and that's a great way to end the show. I appreciate everyone who watches, anyone on this stream, anyone on this space. I appreciate this space too. Thank you for watching the stream. I'm going to end it now in like 15 seconds. So
good. Do it. Do it. Now, I appreciate you, Avian. I'm glad that you've come around your breath of fresh air.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, and that's the end of the stream.
Peace.
Peace.